There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. And today we're taking the Boeing 787-9 from Horizon Simulations for a flight from here in JFK. It's a bit of a hop over to Chicago, a busy sort of route, I would imagine, in America. Not that I've ever flown it, of course. But yeah, it should be an interesting one. We're flying from two of the busiest airports in the world today, so it's going to be a lot of taxiways. It looks pretty quiet, though. VATSIM's not as lively as it sometimes is, so we probably won't have too much of a problem with traffic and so on. We've got this lovely retro livery, US Airways livery, that was on flightsim.to. You don't see this anymore, sadly, but I was a big fan of this livery. But US Airways, of course, now merged into American, I believe. So yeah, it's gone. But I do like this one, and I would love to have seen a Dreamliner in it. I'd also like to have seen the older US Airways livery. They used to have a sort of black livery. It was very cool, but yeah, that's not been around for a while. So this has been recently updated. I haven't got the CPDLC, I'm afraid, but we will be. I don't think there's any controllers to run it anyway. But yeah, we'll be enjoying it nonetheless. It's still a fantastic add-on, and for free as well. So yeah, quite something. I'm in both YouTube and Twitch. You can choose whichever platform you prefer. So let me just jump into YouTube and say hello to everyone. Bills, Joshua, Atoll, 327 Pilot, super fan. Thank you, Taser. I hope you're doing well. Icelandic Warrior, Lloyd, good to have you all here. Epiolet, great to see you as well. I hope you're doing well. Glad you could come along too. C. Gonzalez, Breme, Del Sango from Wisconsin. Excellent. Thanks for coming along. And I hope you all enjoy it. Jamie Carey as well. Over on Twitch, great to see you. James Atkinson, Dougal McTavish, thanks for coming along and moderating. Hope you enjoy. And Flight Tom as well. Twitch channel description. Yeah, I do need to change the Twitch channel description. That's a good point. It's been a while. And Andromeda, thank you for coming along. Right. Yeah, no CPDLC in the US anyway. That's no longer true. They do use CPDLC now. They didn't for a long time, but yeah, recently they've started to use it, so that is quite nice. And P Global, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, this is the latest update to this aircraft. It's rather lovely. You can see here, look at all the detailing and textures. Things that should be included, I think, on the Sobo one. I wish they'd include it from the Horizon. They've done such a good job with it. It's suitably grimy, the sort of thing that I like as an airline pilot, because I just never get to see really shiny airplanes unless it's in its first sort of few weeks of service, but then they get dirty. Especially long-haul aircraft, they're used so extensively. They really do spend so little time on the ground. The utilization is really remarkable. Yeah, we'll have lots of time to chat on the flight, so do save your questions, and once we're in the air, we'll have a chat, and of course we'll talk about we won't be able to avoid talking about turbulence, of course, and what some of the things we are looking for and so on with that, given the recent news. But yeah, there we go. So, lovely day here in JFK. Looks like a lovely day in Chicago. Breezy, of course, as you would expect. Good evening, Hayden J. Robbins. Thanks for joining along. Horizon is working on an X model. There we go. So we'll have a Dash 10 for them. Thanks, Inklufu. I hope you're doing well. Alex UK, good to see you. It's been a while indeed. Thanks for coming along. Atul says, X-Plane when? Yeah, I have it installed. I just haven't used it for so long. But yeah, it's... it looks very nice. The last previews I've seen of X-Plane, so it's something I should do. Look at these engines, just looks fantastic. I don't know how many of you have seen my video of the LVFR. Oh, that's interesting. I thought there were extra decals. So this wing's all sort of rather plain, but it does have the panel lines, which is good. And over here we have all the decals and extra grime. How funny. This one's much cleaner side. Yeah, I don't know how many of you saw the LVFR video, but yeah, their A340. Lovely in some respects, but also had some very, very clean textures on the wing. Sort of looked like this wing, although, no, it wasn't as detailed as this wing. But yeah, how interesting. I wonder what's causing that. Yeah, and the landing gears are all clean as well. Must have not been mirrored quite right. Maybe the livery creator did that. Organizer, thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing well. P Global, I did indeed hear about the Singapore Airlines flight. Yeah, we'll talk about that once we're going. Right, let's jump into the flight deck. And the airplane's set up as it would be for a long-haul airplane. Like I've said before, these airplanes just aren't turned off. The 787 hates it. It really doesn't do well. It has liquid cooling and all sorts going on underneath, and yeah, they do not want to be turned off. So it is often found in this condition, if not already with the IRSs aligned. Engineers are often very nice and do that. What I have done is I've installed, I don't know if I had this installed last time we flew, the Polystorm 3D cockpit textures. These came out late 2023 for the 787, and you can just see, if you look around the switches and so on, did we talk about this already? You can see that they are actually really quite nice, sort of grimy, a little bit worn, sort of the oils from people's fingers and so on have added up over time onto the instruments and panels that get used. So yeah, adding an extra bit of detail to it, certainly. I quite like it. I do like it. I can't say that the default ones are bad. The colours and so on are all very nice, but this is, you know, this is added that extra bit of muck and grime and wear just to make it feel slightly believable that this is a real and a used airplane, you know. And I think it's a nice effect, really. Can't complain at that. Can't complain at that. So we'd come into the airplane, and I'm going to first of all go and check the systems. We've got no status messages, we've got hydraulic quantities, and we've got engine oil, 18 and 20. That's a typical amount to find on a 787. And we are using a GE airplane today, N1, not TPR. So that's all good. We are going to check, we'll of course already do the gears down, parking brake is on, and thrust levers, masters are off, wipers are off, and the electronics are established. These will also be in the auto position. You don't need to turn them off at the end of the flight. There we go. Good, and yeah, I'm going to go into our CDU. So bring up the CDU. All looking good. Database, I've finally updated it correctly for once, so I'm very proud of myself for that. Let me just run and make sure I'm not missing anything. So Lauren V says, cactus paint with American call sign. US Airways must have gotten their 787s. They never ordered much earlier in this autumn history. Indeed, yes. I thought I saw that American Airlines had a sort of a retro jet painted up like this, so that was my thinking, but I suspect I'm wrong, which wouldn't surprise me. Indeed, Grammy Switch is pretty global, but that's pretty accurate. Yeah, and look at this, like little bits of wear around here. I think it's very good, actually. I do like it. I like it. Good. So anyway, I did update the database, which is unusually good. Wild One Ball, thanks for coming along and moderating. Good to see you as well. So that is our data page. Then we can go to pause in it, and we're starting at JFK. The airplane works fine, actually. If you don't even do this, you don't have to do this position unless it's unsure. And then we're going to route requests, because I've got it from SimBrief. Good stuff. Pumpkin Eyes says, I have aviation and planes on my mind 24/7. Is there something wrong with me? No, you and the rest of us. So let's load that in. JFK Ord and American 349. Perfect. Execute. Good. Then we can check the route. So page 2, direct Coates, then Quebec 436 to Emma. And from Emma, we're going to take the windy arrival into Chicago. So that's all good. Perfect. Let's go and set up the airplane. So I need to go to index and just load it up accordingly. So we're going to have from OFP, how many passengers do we have today? 227. Busy flight. 500 tons of cargo, 154.3 tons zero fuel weight with 15.6 tons, and it's a bit breezy in Chicago. It's a busy airport. I'm just going to up the fuel to let's take 2 tons, so that'd be 17,700. Short flight, so 2 tons should mean we arrive with 2 tons, which is actually probably too much, but just in case Chicago's busy or there's some event or something going on that we didn't know about. 17.7 tons of fuel, which we have. Good. Let's get the seatbelt signs on. Yeah, they do look. I do like these switches. This is nice, especially when you get a bit closer to it. And we'll get the APU up and running. Good. So moving on to the perf in it, we have a 0 fuel weight of, as we said, 154.3. Reserves today required to be. We needed 2 plus 3.3, so that's 5.3. Not too high. Flight level 400. We're going nice and high for this flight with a constant exit of a 91. Nice and fast as well. Excellent. We do 2,000 for the steps because it's a short flight. We're not going to get ICAO limits either. Good. Temperature 23 degrees outside. Lovely. Through to the takeoff page. Great stuff. Right, so yeah, that's the CDU pretty much set up. Someone needs to go and do a walk around, and then we need to run through the flows. So, generators are on, but they're not working. APU is running, so all of the ground power is now off. That's absolutely fine. Lots of chats. I do apologize if I've missed anything, which I have. Lauren B says, they do. I think it still says American on all their heritage paints, though. Yes, it does. I know. I couldn't find a proper, authentic one for this one. Piano Learner, good to see you. Piano Learner says, in the cruise, can you discuss your thoughts about the seatbelt sign? I think them switching off makes people undo them despite the safety briefing. Perhaps better to keep them on. So yeah, we will talk about it, of course. And yes, keep them on, which we do say in RPAs, and most airlines will say that, but still. I will say it. So interesting configuration in use at JFK today with 22 right closed. So they're doing the RMP 22 left and Zulu 13 left, departing 13 right. Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. I was really hoping you'd be able to help me out there. So that's 13 right, SKORR5 departure. Yeah, there's only a couple of departures from JFK, so we'll set that up in a minute. Good. Let's just see. What have I missed? 320 Sim Pilot Superfan says, Captain, have you been to the Airbus tour? No, I have not. Right, I think we are all set up. Good. So, carrying on. Yeah, so that's the APU electrical page done. Let's get the IRSs aligning. And flight control all in normal. So little to do up here. Flight deck power goes on. Emergency lights arm. Window heat can all be on. Pumps off. But the primary pumps are on, but they're just not running yet. Seatbelt signs on. I've got the lights on nice and bright. We've got the nav lights on. That's all we need. Fuel pumps all off. Fuel jettison all closed and off. Engine starts in normal and the EC mode in normal. And the fire bottles don't press anything here. I do think this is a bit... I find this panel a little bit strange. You could arm the fire system. You know, it's just... They're just black switches like the rest of them. They're the exact same switches as the fuel pumps. I think it'd be better if they were... a different color or something, but there we go. I think a little bit easy to press. Reset fan lower on, and we'll get the backs running as we're getting warm in that cabin in this plastic airplane. Everything else in normal, auto off. Good. We'll put the HUDs down. You can hear that air conditioning coming to life. Moving along, then we'll do the oxygen test. Doesn't work on this. I will just initialize that and go to performance, and I'm going to switch all the lights up nice and bright. Auto normal for the instruments. We're going to have hectopascals for the barrow. Minimums we don't need for departure. I will set the QNH though. 1215. Sorry, not hectopascals. Inches. What am I doing? There we go. 299 Good. And I'm going to keep the engines on my side. Turn on the flight director. And we'll just check the other side. It's done the same. Auto throttle arm. Speed to come later. Autopilot disengage. Switch is in. And we're going to have runway 13. So we'll just set that. Oh, what I haven't done. Give me a second. I want to set up my Moby flights. Oh, I knew I'd forgotten something. I did so well. I had the overlay ready to go as well for once. Departures from JFK seem to run counterclockwise. They climb you to the east while leaving you northwest. Just about every configuration. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right, let's see. There we go. I think I got this working. Excellent. I do. Fantastic. So we're going to be on heading of 13. 13. Is that what they're using for departures? 13 right. That seems like there must be a bit of a tailwind. I like 170. No. Yeah. 13 right. Awesome. That's actually probably our shortest taxis. That's going to work in our favour. Indeed. Good. So, that's about that. Then we're going to have the QNH on here, gear down, auto brakes to RTO. We're going to move into here. We would set up the ACARs, and I'm also going to go to the checklists, normal menu, reset, and reset all. Got the correct revision. Good. Speed brakes retracted, thrust levers are at idle, fuel cutoff, flaps up, alternate flaps off, alternate trim neutral, parking brakes set, VHF. This would usually be on the cabin, it doesn't work. VHF. Good, 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 good. And if you're wondering about the weather radar, it is off. It would be here, WXR. Quite a strange system. I do think it would be better if they had it so that it wasn't automatically on, but there we go. Right, so that's that flow done. So let's now finish up with getting the CDU loaded. So we need to do a departure arrival, otherwise it's going to knock everything out. 13 right for departure. Oh, there we go. We've only got 2 options then. D's 5 or JFK 5. So let's have a look which departure we fancy. D's 5 from 13 right. So Lauren's saying... They go clockwise? Counterclockwise. So yeah, so it's likely we wouldn't take off from 13 and turn back over the city straight away. So we're going to do a nice big loop round and then go out to D's. So I'm going to do a D's 5 departure. Hello. You haven't joined us for a while. Whoa. Right, will you say hello? You say hello? You say hello? Hello. Not really a hello, just an absolute complaint. She just doesn't need to talk when she's got your attention, so she doesn't bother. But there we go. JFK 5 for this. D's is only for Park and Canada. Okay, JFK 5. Okay, change the plan then. We'll do the JFK 5, which is lucky because it didn't accept the other one anyway. So the Kennedy 5, which is pretty strange. I mean, we just take off, and then you just get given a heading. So I would just do a left heading round. I mean, yeah. There's thing is, I feel much safer knowing there are 2 pilots up front. Exactly. That's what we want, isn't it? Good. So we'll do a left turn and away we go. Really straightforward. Lots of American SIDs are like that. So if we look on the chart now, it has the correct runway, and we can get to plan. And you can see it's just vectors, and we'll end up at Cote over there. So we just have to make it up a bit. Good. Right, back to takeoff. And it's time to run the performance. So let's just check for any weather. There's no weather here, so we'll go with what I have got, my little app. And does it load it in automatically? The real airplane doesn't, but if we copy FMC data, it'll get the runway. No intersection. It's lovely and dry out there. Wind is 170 at 9. Temperature outside 23. QNH 1015. Anti-ice off. Flaps optimum. Thrust rating optimum. And the CG, we do need the CGE, is 28.64. That's pretty aft. Oh, that's not worked. I think it just takes full numbers, actually. The real one does decimals as well. Calculate that, please. The real one's so much slower as well. I wish it ran it like that. So we'll go with the ATM, the assumed temperature methods, and that gives us flap 5 from 13 right, DTO2, so very derated. We're very, very light. I mean, we can take off almost 100 tons heavier than that, well, 70, 80 tons heavier than that. 136, 142, 151, very low speeds as well. So yeah, makes sense. Copy. No, wrong one. Send. Just check it hasn't changed. 5, 36, 42, 51, 13 right. Good. We go over here and we just make sure that that has come across as expected. So CG of 29. I won't do it yet until it's accepted it. It would copy across. So thrust 62, takeoff 2. Yep. And we got flap 5, 136, 142, 151. Yep, all good. Accept that. 29 on the CG, just to give us our trim figure. So some new things I'm always looking for more details on this aeroplane because there aren't so many given to you in the FCOM. And you sort of so it's got takeoff gross weight 0. I'm just going to put the numbers in again. And run it again. You want all of this to match perfectly, and if it doesn't, yeah, you have to be careful. So send, accept. There we go. Takeoff gross weight now matches 29 4.5. So yeah, the real aircraft has a sensor in the nose wheel. and it therefore knows if your CG is correct, because of course sitting on the ground the airplane will rock further forward or further back depending on where the weight's distributed. So there's transducers in the nose gear that will sense that, so that's what it uses to draw this green band. And if that means that the trim for takeoff should be set within it. If this doesn't match, if your trim isn't set within that green band, or something isn't right, or it's not matching what you've told the airplane, then it will get upset with you, and it will actually give you an ICAS warning. So yeah, it's a very clever system. It's something I like, because getting the wrong CG, especially on a big heavy airplane like this, could be pretty disastrous on a takeoff. So yeah, nice, good thinking by Boeing. Good. So that's the performance done there. On the thrust limit page, we're doing a climb 2 is what we would do with the weight like this, so we're just using a maximum D rate for the climb as well. And that's the takeoff page done, and the legs page over there. All good. Lovely. Right, now it does need the V2 of 151. So let me set that. 151. LNAV, VNAV, it seems to have armed automatically. We've got heading 130, and stop altitude on that departure. It's not really going to matter as we're making it up today, but what does it suggest? 5,000 feet. There we go. 5,000 feet in the window. Lovely. We've got FMC pre-flight complete, DTO2, 62, LNAV, VNAV armed, and 5,000 feet for the stop. Good news. So all that's left now, get rid of those engines, have a look at the recall. Seems reasonable, and what we're going to do is just check our route out of here. Delta Tango says, glad to hear Boeing still has some engineering magic. Indeed. I mean, I've seen so many articles over the last few days showing just they've done sort of like lists of Boeing's problems over the last few weeks, and yes, of course there are undeniable problems, especially when it comes to things that weren't inspected. But when people are sort of talking about wheels coming off and so on, you know, these are just aviation incidents. These were happening before, just nobody cared, and then suddenly it's become a whole thing. There's loads of amazing engineering in the 787 and all Boeing airplanes. I mean, they're amazing machines. But yeah, we want the wings to be inspected, don't we? I can understand that, but yeah, it's not a lost cause sort of situation, I don't think, anyway. FS Tesla says, is this payware or default? So this is a freeware mod for the default 787 if you have the premium version, but the textures in the cockpit I have paid for, so these are extra. You wouldn't notice the difference too much, but I think in nice bright days you can actually see it. Yeah, I think they're very nice actually. Very nice indeed. This is rubbish. This is the escape hatch, and it's just this foam thing that sits in there, velcroed on. I mean, it's amazing. I wish the windows opened, but there we go. Good. So departure, we're on the heavy part of the terminal, at least I think we are. We are sitting in here, so we're going to taxi out, down Alpha November or November Bravo Bravo, and then we'll take Papa or Quebec all the way along, and we'll take one of these intersections, whichever we fancy really. Departing on 13 right, taking off, climbing straight ahead, then making a left turn. Hopefully we'll get a view of Manhattan. That would be cool. So I'll do a nice early left turn and we'll climb away. Climb to 5,000 feet and then further. Terrain's not really an issue. It's nice and low for the way out of here. Here's our departure. So 2,000 feet, MSA, yeah, nice and low. We're going flat 5. We're doing a D-rated takeoff and a D-rated climb, but we're going to have loads of performance because the airplane's so light. We did take a bit of extra fuel, but yeah, very light indeed. We'll probably get off the runway quite quickly as well. V2 of 151, that's also very low. I haven't got a lot else to say. It's a nice day. It's a headwind, and yeah, just we've got to watch out for those taxiways, but it's nice and quiet as well. So we're basically going out here, down, and then over there. Yeah, I find Navigraph laggy as well, I must say. That's American Airlines and Friends Gate Area. Excellent. Delta Tango says, in fairness, Boeing's issues are on the cost production side, really. They need to have quality control driven leadership to stop everything long enough to get it right moving forwards. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it, I think. Apparently we're past the era of opening cockpit windows, says Viper Ajax. Ah, does the 350 not open either? Yeah, I can believe it. It's extra weight and mechanism. I'm a bit surprised even the 320 has it, frankly. But there we go. It's lovely, though, when you're doing a turnaround in the sun, you can open that window. Good. So we're all briefed. So let's do the pre-flight checklists. Parking brake set, fuel control switch is cut off. Good. That's done. Let's now pressurize the airplane. So, pumps. There's no fuel in the center tank. Beacon. I should see 4 things on the recall. Ah, but the doors. There we go. That's why we do that. Close, close, close. I was trying to get the jetty to attach, sadly. Is there a keyboard shortcut for the jetty? Asking for a friend. So, pumps, beacon. Recall should be 4 items, which it is. Get rid of those. Transponder. And trim. 4.5. Shahid says the title's wrong. That's a shame. I did change it. That's 4.5. So let's run the checklists. 4-star checklists. Passenger signs are on. MCP, we got V2151. Heading 130. Altitude 5,000 feet. Takeoff speeds, we have 136, 142, 151. CDU pre-flight completed. Taxi takeoff briefing completed before start checklist completes. Right, we're just going to do a straight pushback. I do know the keyboard shortcut for this. A320 doesn't have them either. No, because they've got reduced the number of windows. So I think the reason the 7.8 doesn't have it is because we don't have a third sort of that extra window. Oh, this camera, honestly. There's just 2 per pilot. Why would I want to look here on the aeroplane? Why is that in the center of the screen? I don't understand. I will never understand. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. So just the reduced number of windows. So the tug, if I can ever see it. There we go. Lauren V says 320 is at least short enough you can pass paperwork and stuff to the ground crew and back theoretically. 787 320 is far too high up. Now, 350 I suppose. Yeah, so it's funny. The 787 isn't as high up as you'd think. It doesn't feel, sitting in the flight deck for the first time, it didn't feel much higher of a flight deck than the 320. It is obviously higher, but it's not a huge difference. But dropping stuff even out of 320, because the 320 is effectively quite tall for a short-haul aeroplane. But dropping stuff out the window is always risky, because one thing you can't have on an apron... Oh, no, wrong keys, please reattach. Yeah, one thing you can't have is stuff flying around, and if you throw your load sheet out the window and it just gets drawn away or sucked into an APU nearby or something, you can be in big trouble. So you have to be very careful. Some places are quite clever with it. They have a little stick and they'll put the paperwork in the stick and hand it up to the window. But yeah, in extreme situations when something's been forgotten, some piece of paper that should be taken off the airplane and it hasn't, because that does happen. Yeah, you can open the window and drop it out if you're careful. As long as there's ground crew around and your engines aren't running, that sort of thing. I wouldn't do it with engines running. But yeah, that won't happen on the 787. Wouldn't put it out the roof. I tried Control J. Yeah, Lauren V, I did try that. It didn't work. Evening, Calippo Cola. I was a 320 pilot. Now I'm a 787 pilot. So what's going on with Twitch? What is my stream called on Twitch? I did try and change it. Oh. Oh yeah, it is. It's the wrong title. Okay. Sorry on Twitch. I will change that momentarily. So that checklist is complete. We'll go back to the ND there. And let's just bring up a nice window view. I don't know what is this view? Where does this come from? Why do we have these awful camera angles? Most airplanes seem to include them. There we go. Set the parking brake. Parking brake set. That's the pushback complete. Actually, it's not very far, but that's all we're going to manage. There has to be special treatment on this apron, and we'll start the engines. Now, I did discover something new recently. Ebos, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. Now, I've said before that on the 787, when you put these to start, nothing really happens. Whereas in this version, in the Horizon and the Sobo and everything, you put them to start, and I'll show you immediately. N2 starts spinning. Now, it doesn't immediately start spinning. It takes a while. It takes a good 15 to 20 seconds, but it will eventually crank the engines. This is how you would crank the engines. You just put it to start and leave it for 30 seconds, and it's just motors them round. Oh, the sounds are excellent. So you'd do this if you wanted to crank the engines. But the normal start is you put the fuel on, and then it goes into auto start. That's quite a noise. Can you hear that? Storm Code, thanks for coming along. And yes, 35 minutes of pushback is a new record. I'm very pleased with that. I am very pleased with that. Evening, Mr. Banana. I hope you're doing well. Good to have you here. Triton, hello to you. Ghosts, hello from Australia. Thanks for coming along. Glad you enjoy the videos. Right, engines running. That's all good. So we very carefully look up. Check all the amber lights are out on the generators. You don't want to lose electrical power at this point. They're running. AP can go off. Engine energized to auto. We've lost our HUDs. Flaps to 5. TCAS off. Secondary engine. That's all looking good. Run the flight controls, please. Are there additional sounds in the Horizon? I feel like there's some extra ones. Rudder. What's going on there? It's not much movement. I'm sure the rudder on the real thing moves more than that. But there we go. Good. And we'll run the forward taxi checklist. Anti-ice is auto. Recall checked. Flight controls checked. Ground equipment clear. And APU is off. That's the before taxi checklist complete. So we know our routing. It would appear on the little chart here on the real airplane, which is just lovely. So we're going out and left to run one of those bridges. Fantastic news. If you are enjoying, do please leave a like. It makes a big difference to the channel. I see we have quite a lot of new viewers today, which is great. James says, just watching your vids and saw you live. What's up? All doing well? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for joining us here today. No, it looks like no air traffic in New York today, sadly. There's Atlanta, but that's it. That's all we've got, I'm afraid. If only this plane had the camera angles from the LVFR A320. Indeed, the LVFR has some lovely, lovely camera angles, Viper. I do agree. I think that's a very, I mean, I've done, like I said, I've done a video on it. Very pretty airplane. I wanted to fly it on stream. It would have been the airplane I would have brought today. But people were asking for the 787 last stream, so I thought, oh, it is time. And also, the 340's avionics and its MCDU were just not reliable enough to take onto VATSIM. However, it looks like it may not have mattered today. Right. Brake release, and you'll see the airplane does want to roll away because it's so light. The real airplane, even at these weights, it just doesn't roll away particularly. Yeah, it should have definitely pushed back a little bit more. I wonder if we'll keep our wings within the line. So the nose is going to stay way behind, but the wingtips are more of the issue on the 787. They are huge wings for the size of the airplane. That's why Boeing originally planned to have a variant with shortened wings for the Japanese commuter market, so it could fit into old 767 airports and stands, but it never came to be. Too expensive, I suppose, because these huge wings are really designed for just ultra long flying. That's what these end bits are for. So you'll see here the nose is well clear, but look at that wingtip not. It's something you have to be aware of when taxiing these large airplanes. They are, they are big and it's easy to get wrong. 320 Sim Pilot Superfan knows someone flying for Boeing on a 320 out of Heathrow last week. Excellent. I'm sure they'll enjoy that. Sean says, what about APU Gen? No, APU Gen stays on. We don't touch the APU generators. You want them on if the APU is running. A bit like on the 320 as well. Beyond ATC, yeah, that could have been an option actually. However, I haven't got it set up today because I didn't have it installed. I did that video remotely, not on my computer. Most of my videos have been done on my laptop, so I don't actually have Beyond ATC on here. But we should do a stream with that. I think that'd be good fun. It's a good idea. Maybe we'll take the 340 onto Beyond ATC and put them together. No taxi cameras on any 787, Mr. Banana. Even the Dash 10, the longest one. The Dash 10 is longer than a Boeing 777-200. It's shorter than the 300, but it doesn't have a camera, even though it's longer than the 200. It's an unusual. I think it should really. I don't know if the 350 has a camera or not. Atlanta, Denver, Houston, and Albuquerque are on in the US. Excellent. P Global. Where is the intake for the APU? Is it under the fuselage? Good question, Epilet. It is not. The intake for the APU on the 787 is on the upper fuselage. It's a flap that opens when the APU is running. It opens up here. It's not modelled on these aircraft, sadly. So that's why you don't see it. But yeah, it opens up. I should really be on 1228. Oh, come on. Really? Well, we're just going to have to... we'll go first. Because we're already in the way. Oh, we got a colleague. Look at that. That's cool. Love that. Ground speed below 10 knots. Oh, that might have been too far. That nose was going to be pretty close to the line. Oh, we made it. It's not CTF Airport. Oh, I see. Yeah, payment. I would use Beyond ATC now, but I haven't installed it on this computer. Sorry. Right. How do I use CTAF? I'm way behind. 350 has tow cameras. Okay, interesting. Yeah. It does have a camera. You can even put it on the PFD. That is nice, yeah. I would like a camera. I think that'd be nice. Using the HUD is pretty much a requirement. Yes, it's the standard procedure on the 787. Marin Halley, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Son of Posh says, long time lurker, wanted to finally say hi. Thanks for all the great videos. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming along. Really appreciate it. So am I about to get kicked off of VATSIM? Would be pretty fair, to be honest. I have completely carved these people up if they're all on CTAF. I'm hoping they're with us. Don't know how this little British Airways Airbus got over here. I suppose the 318 used to, didn't it? No, the stab green does not have to be in the middle of that box, by the way. So that box is the range which the airplane thinks is correct for the trim. So it's to do with, like I was saying, with the weights on the sensors. I think we'll take the right here. Just making it up. Yeah, so the stab trim, so that arrow needs to be in the green band, but it doesn't have to be in the middle. In fact, it very rarely is. It's often in the upper edge of it. I don't know if that's to do with the way the weight sensors work or whatever, but yeah. If it's right on the very edge, Boeing recommends you actually run it outside and then trim it towards you again. So towards the green band, because if you have it run the other way or towards on the way out, I'm not making any sense here. That doesn't... If I was making a video now, I would delete this section. What I mean is, I'll show you. So the trim today is relatively close to the edge of the green band, 4.5. So what it would say is go outside the green band and then trim in towards the 4.5. That's if you're at the very edge. What you don't want to do is trim out. I'm not going to say that again. Where do I find the CTF frequency? Can someone help me? Sorry, James. Is it CTF and V pilot? Auto ATC. There's not there to be any controller. Please call 6. Oh, here we go. It's telling me some things. Squawk 6665 for your IFR flights. This will aid in your identification by ATC. Okay, we'll do that. There goes some traffic. Right. Do I have someone right behind me? I do. I'm trying to really, I want to bring it to a stop. We've got so much typing going on here. Right. That's one thing done. Yeah, Alex, the altimeter is set straight away. So as soon as you get the QNH. So when you sit down on the flight deck, you'll set that altimeter because it's just something not to be forgotten. Right, we'll say the cabin's ready. So we'll put the transponder to TARA. And no updates. We are still taking off straight ahead, then a left turn, climbing to 5,000 feet. I have reset the trim. Normal, flat 5 takeoff, heavily derated. Climb 2 once we're underway. One 191, there we go, thank you. Oh, I'm disappointed, I had no idea. I did see that little note on VATSIM and I didn't really pay much attention to it. Classic. Oh, please. There we go. Right. TARA is traffic alert and resolution advisory. Best announce and beg for forgiveness now. Indeed, indeed. But who are we talking to? Am I just talking to other pilots? I don't know what to say. We're going to run our checklists. I think we'll just taxi to the holding point and then we'll call when we're going to go, I suppose. Good. So next to do is the checklist. Before takeoff checklist, flaps 5. That's before takeoff checklist complete. And JFK traffic, American 349, lining up runway 13 right and taking off, departing to the northwest. Let's take this one here. Nice and oversteer. We haven't heard anyone approach. So I'm assuming if anyone was on final, they would have also called out on this frequency. I'm hoping. I really don't know. Let's go to that status page.
Camden traffic, American 1980, holding short of Papa Foster.
So no one out there. We're lining up. Left and right lights. I do the turn offs and the strobes. Taxi light off. Kennedy traffic, American 349 taking off runway 13 right. I think this has worked. Big Global says, I guarantee most people are on 1228. Yeah, good. That's what I'd have been on. Ah, yeah, this should be for departures only. Right, is everyone ready to go? I hope you all had fun on the taxi out, watching me get it wrong. I always get something wrong on the taxi. But there we go. Nice and lined up. Rolling takeoffs in the Boeing. We've told everyone we're going. Let's go. So, half yoke forwards. Engines don't respond that quickly. The real airplane, they're actually quite slow. They're very big engines. Press the toggle buttons. There's thrust ref. It shouldn't be an LNAV or ALT, frankly, but it's just doing its thing. So I'm going to just rotate to the toggle reference line as normal. There's 80 knots neutral. There's thrust hold. On really bumpy runways, you have to leave quite a loose grip on those thrust levers because now, if you adjust them, it will change the takeoff thrust. Rotates. Look at that. Only half the runway. That's nothing for a 787. Where's the reference line? Positive rate, gear up. It's got all confused on the modes. Let's just cycle those. Yeah, none of that's worked. Strange. It's normally very good, the horizon, so that's fine. I can see the speeds washing off a bit, so I'll go back down towards the 10-degree line. That's probably a bit closer. Got the gear up. Through 1,000 feet. Looking good. So we're in thrust ref, heading hold, VNAV out. Let's go flitch. Heading, sell, gauge the autopilot, let the nose come down, and we'll make our left turn. Beautiful. Love this airplane. Any 030 should stop at 5,000 feet. And we'll accelerate the speed. It's 250. Nose comes down. We're between 5 and 1 and accelerating, so we'll go to flaps 1. Yeah, this is a bug. I'm hoping they can fix that. And then we're going to go up.
Takeoff runway 13 right. Get any traffic.
There's Manhattan. There's JFK. Awesome. Love it. Oh, let's fly right over it. You do leave in Newark, so I don't see why we can't here. Get a nice view. So outside of 10-50 miles, we go to, okay. Why have they changed it? Is it just because there were too many people on the frequency all at once? One, 2, 2, 8. Oh no. Oh dear, 1228 must be a weather frequency around here. Anyway, the gear's up. Let's do the after takeoff check. No, we're not on standard yet, so we'll leave it here. But yeah, leaving Newark, you fly right over Central Park, so trying to make it more realistic. Fair enough. Delta Tango says, how realistic are the engine sounds? Yeah, they're good. I mean, the GE sounds are quite pronounced. I think they're really nice, actually. A little bit too loud. This airplane is very quiet on the flight deck. You don't hear the engines. Maybe on the Dash 8 a little bit more. On the 10, you just don't hear them at all. Yeah, it's very good. A few more H's are appearing. But yeah, if you have enjoyed the departure, do please leave a like. Makes a big difference to the channel. So there's another airport down there. What airport's that? Is that LaGuardia? Am I about to fly right through their airspace, having them just come online? There's the traffic leaving behind us. Let's climb up and out the way a bit more. Thruster airflight speed, 17,000 feet. Oh, they're good sounds. They are nice. Let's imagine we've been cleared to accelerate as we wish to. So what we can actually do, see if it works in here. We can get rid of the restriction. Yeah, so I can actually delete that one, and it would just go to its econ speed, 305. Which I can set for now until we go back into VNAV. I'm going to clear that checklist incomplete norm. We know it's wrong. There we go. Awesome. Love it. I thought the detail would be a little bit better. This must be my computer running on lower settings. The sightseeing 1 Golf is our departure, Mariner Handy says. Indeed, yeah. So I need to increase my LOD settings. But yeah, Newark Airport is over here, isn't it? And you just take off and you fly right past this. That's awesome. Is that Newark? There. Or there. There, that's Newark. There we go. I do know what I'm talking about, I promise. Promise. Right, where's our actual routing? Oh, look at that. I've nailed it. We're going right there. Perfect. So, let's line everything up. Coats. Straight in front. Executes. We'll go LNAV. We'll go VNAV. Thruster F, LNAV, VNAV speed through 10,000 feet. Lights all off. Turn offs off. Strobes stay on. Seatbelts auto. Flaps are up. And we're going all the way up straight to 400. How awesome is that? And we're going to set standards. Now we can run the after takeoff checklist. Flaps are up. No, it's not there. After takeoff. Landing gear up, flaps up. After takeoff. Checks complete. Good. And we're underway. Teterboro. There we go. Teterboro. Yeah, it does feel cool taking off the 787, I've got to say, and there's a few reasons for that. One is it's really cool takeoff where it's so low, so you make quite an impressive sight as it leaves the airfield. You know, you fly right over the roofs of the terminals as you take off and over the roads and everything, so you do feel pretty cool. Also, it looks like a UFO, I always think, especially if you're doing a night departure, which of course we often are. This is long haul after all, where you have the way those strobe lights are sort of glowing away. It just heads off into the sky with all these UFO bright lights all over it. I love that. It's also very quiet, and it's very, very comfortable. All the sort of usual bumps you get in a takeoff and the noise, and it just doesn't happen on the Dreamliner. The engines are quieter, the bumps are smoothed out, the turbulence system is fantastic. So yeah, it's very cool. I love it. I love it. Delta says, in the sim, some engine and or wind sound seem fairly essential since we're missing the feeling improvement. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yep. Epilite says, when you push the VS in the 320, does it usually lurch uncomfortably like in the sim or smoothly level off? No, it's very smooth. It's pushing the VS to 0 on the 320 is the quickest way to level it off, unless you disconnect the autopilot and you fly it too aggressively. So pushing 0 is a very good method, but it's still smooth enough. Metia says, I've been on the 787 a few times now, and it's such a nice experience for both the passengers and the pilot. It is indeed. I do agree. 320 Super Pilot, 320 Sim Pilot Superfan says, nice pilots also look really cool from the outside. Yeah, hopefully we do. That's what we're worried about. Oh dear. Right. Another cool thing about the 787 is, see, we're going straight up to flight level 400. If I check the VNAV page, cruise page, optimum 407, max 431. We could go straight up to 430 in the 9, and it would be fine. So it goes so high, so much quicker. It beats everything to the cruise, and that's just great. And it's not uncomfortable to do that in the 787. It has enough performance and extra performance on the wing that it can do it really quite happily. It's really great, and it comes into its own. I've had it where the controller, you know, there's been weather avoidance, and the controller's working really hard dealing with weather avoidance, and we're sort of going, oh, we're going to have to get our word in quite early, and we're sat at flight level 400 or whatever, 410, and we are. Everyone's asking for headings. The controller's telling people to stand by, giving them, okay, you can turn up to this much, and so on. And then we call up for the heading we want, and the controller just said to us, yeah, that's fine. Do whatever you want. Just tell me what you've done, because there's no one else up there at 400. You can have the whole thing to yourself. And that's great, right? That's a huge advantage, being able to be up and out the way of other traffic. It gives us so many more options and removes so much workload. It's just another perk of the 787. I absolutely love it. Because a lot of aircraft will be at 335, 36, 37, 38, but to be above 400 is rare. It's just us and we don't do that until the end of the flight. But even so, that's usually when you're dodging, right? Yeah, just lovely. What other views do we get? All these views we don't need. Yeah, we'll stick with that one. Very scratched up engine on this one. How many of you are going to get the DCS F4 Phantom that's just come out? I was planning to sort of get to grips with that yesterday, but it didn't come out in the end, did it? I'm hoping to get some use out of that at some point. So, big question coming up. No surprise, is what about this Singapore flight and turbulence and so on? So, yes. have your seatbelt on the whole flight. And I said this before when I did a little video on that LATAM incident with the nosedive, just because people were talking about the seat mechanisms and whether it was safe, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to do a video just to explain seat movement in these airplanes, and that it's actually common to have motorized seat movement. But yeah, the investigation is not complete. We don't know if that's what caused it, but just in the topic of seats moving, that's what that video was about. But I said in that video, wear your seatbelts. Turbulence, is not dangerous to an airplane. It's just not going to bring the airplane out of the sky. It might bend it a bit or damage things if it's the absolute worst turbulence ever, but the airplanes are designed for it. They're very good at flying through it, and they can survive it. But what is dangerous is if you end up getting thrown around the cabin, of course. I want to be clear, everything I say here, I'm not for a second suggesting that anyone did anything wrong. People need to go to the toilet. They need to walk around. You don't want to get DVT, the blood clots in your veins and so on. So movement is important, but you can stretch your legs and so on in the seat, hopefully, if you have space. But my point is, when you're sat down, and for as much time as you are, wear the seatbelt. Just wear it. Have it done up, because airplanes are still in the sky, and I think it's easy to forget that an airplane's in the sky. I actually think it's lucky that we have a situation where we have such smooth air. The first airplanes that could go up this high may well have found out that it's so rough and turbulent that you just couldn't be here, and it's not safe anyway. But we're lucky enough that it is okay to be up this high, and it allows us to fly faster and further. So that's great. But it is still in the sky. People often think that airplanes move a lot, and they drop out the sky and so on. People will say it fell out the sky, it hit an air pocket. I think phrases like this are very common, and you're seeing journalists use them in coverage of the Singapore incident. And of course, it's terribly tragic that somebody died on that flight. That shouldn't happen. It's just not something we want to see, is it? So, what did the airplane drop out the sky? Well, they started talking about, it lost 6,000 feet in 3 minutes. Well, that is 2,000 feet per minute, which, as you all know, is a completely normal rate of descent. So that is clearly not the actual cause of the turbulence. The turbulence itself probably didn't register on flight radar, if at all. You can see here we're climbing at 1,400 feet per minute right now, and that's pretty slow. The airplane will easily descend at 2,000 feet per minute, and no one will notice in the cabin at all. It's sudden changes are the problem, even if they're very short and very brief. So the Singapore airplane, there have been some reported traces of it showing the vertical speed change, and it did indeed. It looks like it may have, according to what this sort, which is unverified, but the source was suggesting a sort of climb up to 400 feet. Now that's quite a lot. For an airplane, a modern airliner, to deviate from your flight level by more than 200 feet is rare, and it did it very, very quickly. So that would explain, that would feel rough, and any change like that would feel rough. But remember, an airplane dropping by, if it was to drop 1 meter, let's say it dropped a full meter, that would be enough to send you from your seat, if you weren't wearing a seatbelt, out of your seat. Imagine lifting yourself 1 meter in the air suddenly. So from the outside, you wouldn't even see the airplane move. 1 meter is nothing, is it? 1 meter is just this. It just looked like an airplane bouncing. That's how little it has to move, and that's why you've got to wear your seatbelt, because it doesn't need to move much for you to feel it. We're just lucky it's as smooth as it is. The other thing is, we do our best to avoid turbulence, but it's not 100% predictable. We have weather charts, they're not predictable. We rely a lot on other pilots reporting it, and of course the weather radar to look out for thunderstorms, which are the most severe turbulence usually comes from thunderstorms, but it can also come from jet streams, and it can just come from clear air. You can just be sat there for no reason at all, be sitting in some of the worst turbulence of your life. It's very tedious when that happens. But it just comes back to wear your seatbelt. That's all, until the investigations and so on come out and figure out exactly how this airplane encountered such severe turbulence that could cause that much damage. I mean, it is incredibly extreme. The pictures were remarkable, absolutely horrifying to imagine how rough that must have been. And it's only for 1 minute. Amazing. But yeah. What I was going to do here, I need to change the Twitch title. I don't know why it didn't do it. Oh well. Done. Hopefully that saves. Andy, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Right, got the Twitch title correct. Good news. Right, my chat has fallen way behind. So, apologies, I missed a lot there. Let me have a look, let me have a look. Matthew Presley, good to see you. Matthew's an airline pilot in America. Matthew says, best educated guess is flew into a building storm that had not started precipitating yet. If the moon wasn't out, they may not have even known it was out there. So, oh, it's traffic alert. We're climbing into traffic above us. So yeah, well, we can do it. Disconnect, or maybe not that much, and fly out of the red area. There we go, that's all worked. I'm going to put it back where it was. I'm going to go for flitch and engage the autopilot. And now it should carry on its climb. Now, where's going with this traffic? Where are they? They're right above us, 1,500 feet above us, so we're going to have to level off here for a little bit. There, yeah, we can go to 3.3. Thrust, now flitch speeds. It's going to need to accelerate a bit before it gets to the speed, and then it can climb up. Yeah, so yeah, could be from building storms that they didn't see, but it could be any number of things. I mean, it could be just a coincidence that there were storms there, and there was just severe clear air turbulence. All these things are possible. Epilet says, scenery is stunning, can't wait for 2024. Yeah, me too. So, another thing to consider is that this is Singapore Airlines. That they weren't a long way from home. They were actually very close to their base. They live in a part of the world that has huge thunderstorms. So they are. I would expect them to be experienced crew who are aware and know the dangers and have been around this size of thunderstorm before. So, you know, we can't start judging. There is absolutely no way to know that, you know, a report could come out and it could say any number of things. The weather radar could have broken. It could be a peculiar sort of storm that has less moisture in it that doesn't paint on a radar, and it was embedded in a normal cloud, which is sort of what Matthew was saying in his message. You know, there's so many things that could all come out of a report, so we just can't assume anything at this stage. Yeah. Epilet says, do you wear a hat? If so, do you like it or think it's super annoying? I know Mental Pilot doesn't, but he says he would love to. Yeah, I won't answer that one, but it's a good question. Yeah, clear air turbulence or CAT, there's not much you can do, but you do get reports, so you'll hear about it from other pilots. Also, clear air turbulence can include jet streams, but yeah, you tend to hear about it. Traffic is also 789 going to order. Ah, there we go. So we might run into that traffic a few more times. I don't think the transponder above works on this. No. They should have a contrail, I think. There they are. Looks like we're undercutting them a bit. It's annoying because I was so excited to go straight up to 400. Well, we can definitely go up another 2, so let's do that. Thrust switch speed, 350. Don't want to stay this low the whole way, if we can avoid it. Anyway, how are you doing, Matthew Presley? Good to see you again. It's been a while. Nick K, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Andrew R says, finally a live stream that I've caught. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Thanks for coming along. James Atkinson says, about to start tackling my final PPL exam tomorrow. Flight planning and performance. Any suggestions on getting started? I wish I could help you, but it's been a long time since I've done my theory exams on those. No. I think performance is quite interesting. I don't remember it being too tedious. And yeah, no, I think those are quite interesting topics. Jack says already 31,000 feet an hour in. Yeah, I know. That is good for us. That's very good for us. Ah, is Andy a Heathrow controller? That'd be amazing. James is well ahead. Excellent. Sorry, just jumping between Twitch and YouTube as my... I'm having some trouble with my software here. Managing 2 streams at once. Matthew Presley says, that's the thing flying around here this time of year. Sometimes during the day we fly by these monsters up over flight level 500 that don't show up on radar. Disturbing if that would happen on a dark night. Yeah, if they don't show up on radar, that is. I have to say, the best weather radar I've used is on the 320 Neo. It's so good. It's slightly oversensitive, but that's better than being undersensitive. It does show everything, and it can show you. It takes slices, so it will show you in a 3D view. You can literally choose the flight level you want to look at, and it will say whether it's at that level. The 787 radar is outdated now, really. It's old school. You have to just choose the angle and have a look at it, and it does scan up and down a little bit and choose its own angle, but nothing that exciting. So yeah, the 320 Neo is a really good one. But yeah, there's a chance it didn't paint on the radar for some reason. Right, 340. Still can't see that traffic. Oh, there they are. Hold on. 1,000 above us. So yeah, we're going to sit here for a while. Speed out. Yeah, the engines are definitely a bit noisier than they would be in the real airplane. But still, not a bad thing on a sim, as we were saying earlier. Could you do an adjacent route or shifted some distance to the left or right? So that's a great question. If we were going over the Atlantic, what we would do is, because you have everyone on the same route separated... now, we can't offset enough to then climb up to their level. It would be too close. We would need to be quite a distance apart. But yeah, what we do on the Atlantic tracks is actually offset slightly. However, the offset button doesn't work on here. But yeah, you'd go between 0 to 2 miles right of track. And that way, if there's any wake turbulence, you can avoid it because you're all slightly different distances apart. We're definitely faster, though. Definitely faster. Which is great news. We're doing 8, and we're only doing 8.3. 8.3? Oh, it's embarrassing for a Dreamliner. Can't have that. We'll do 8.8. 8.3, honestly. Matthew Presley says, agreed, our Neo radars are great. Yeah. Matthew, what are you flying these days? Wow. So Matthew's already moved from the CRJ to the 7.6 to the Airbus. I know in America they change you around much more easily than in Europe, where it's very slow. Jack says, are you planning on flying X-Plane again soon? Maybe the flight back to 777 when it comes out. Yeah, I'd like to. If I can get my X-Plane back up and running, I need to do that. It's been a long time. And I know it's had a lot of updates recently, hasn't it? So I need to give it a go. I hope to, if I can find the time. The problem is I can use Flight Simulator on my laptop very easily because I can use my Xbox controller. And they've done quite a good job with it. I haven't tried the Xbox controller in X-Plane. Does it include presets? I hope it does. I hope it does. Ah, so Matthew is on the 320, yeah. Oh, are you enjoying it, Matthew? Do you like the 320 compared to the 767? How was the 767 weather radar? Why is the trim indicator not shown in flight in the Boeing 787, says Johan. Great question. Great question. A lot of people say this is the best, what do they say? This is the most Airbus plane built by Boeing, something like that. Basically, you can see it. You go systems, flight control, and there's our trim setting. In the cruise, it's often actually surprisingly nose up. And the reason it does that, sorry, nose down, wrong way around. Let me get this right. It's usually relatively far in one direction. I don't remember what that is now. I'll have a look next time I fly. But yeah, it does change around. I suppose it's probably quite nose down because we're going quite fast. But the airplane doesn't show you it in normal flight because why do I need to see it? Is the airplane in trim or not? Remember, the 787 is not trimmed for a speed in this traditional sense. If I disconnect the autopilot and close the thrust levers, Here's our accelerometer, and it decelerates. Here's our speed, washing off. And you see the nose is lowering because we're going out of trim for that speed. But it didn't immediately drop as I took the power off because we don't need to retrim for thrust changes. So what I'm saying is the airplane is not a traditionally trimmed airplane, and knowing that where the trim is not as useful as it would have been. What is actually important is what's called the trim reference speed. So if I blip the trimmer, the airplane trims to this speed as long as you're within 5 knots. So it's all being done by the computers. You're setting the trim so you're setting the trim reference speed to this speed, and now the airplane is in trim for that speed. Then if I move the thrust levers, it won't actually change the trim until the airplane loses speed, and now it's going to try and maintain that speed by lowering the nose. It doesn't do that just by using the... Now this is getting detailed, and I'm not sure this airplane models it correctly. It doesn't change the trim to do that. It actually uses the flight controls and then the trimmer and all sorts. It's just like the Airbus. So there's so much going on. You're just responsible for flying it. Lost 1,000 feet there. I've explained that terribly. That's another thing if I was making a video I would redo. Essentially, you don't need to see the trim position because you don't look at it. You trim the airplane using your yoke, and whatever feels right, feels right. If there's a problem with the trim system, the airplane will tell you. It will tell you, and that's when you would need to know it. Let's get some speed back. Put in the autopilot. If I wind the speed back, we'll have the energy to go back up to 350. What laptop to use? I use it's got a what was the previous generation? 13 gen i9 and an RTX 4080, but laptop versions. It's really good actually. I like it a lot. It's very quick at rendering videos. Yeet says, can you tell us your first destination you went to as a 787 pilot? I went to America. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say for that one. Good morning from Australia, Michael Calder. Good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Late shift with newborn. I hope it's going well. Fantastic, Michael. I hope you're having a good time with them. Laura B says, nose down due to fuel and trim tanks. No trim tanks on this airplane. So there's only the center tanks and the wing tanks, and that's all we get. Actually, that's a good point. We're burning through our fuel. We've got 3 tons spare. Good. Glad I took extra if we're going to fly this fast. Changes well ahead. What's that doing? 9.9 in a 2E Airbus A320. Excellent, James. Hope it's going well. Yeah, it should be nose down trim. I do agree with that. I think the airplane wants to be slightly nose down. When you trim nose down, the tailplane will go, the front will go up, and it effectively starts to generate lift. So you don't want a nose, if the CG is too far forward, then the nose having to hold it up. So the airplane's balanced so that, yeah, the tailplane is relatively nose down in the cruise, because that's when you're going at your fastest as well, so it makes sense. Matthew Presley says about the A320, it's such a comfortable plane to fly. Our fleet has varied from 25-year-old 319s and 20s to brand new Neos. Basic, enhanced ES1 and ES2, so we get some variety that keeps things fresh. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, the 320 families in most airlines now are so varied because they've been around for such a long time. They're so popular. Yeah. 787 is very standard, luckily. Very standard. Is it okay to use Bluetooth headphones, earbuds during the cruise for noise cancelling, or does it cause radio issues? No, it's as long as it's electronic devices are allowed. I believe you're allowed to use Bluetooth headphones. I would have thought. Why does the 787 not have the off position for the gear like other Boeing, says P Global? Because again, this is more like an Airbus, so they've, it's silly. Why would you need to move it to off? I think the 777 is the same, the 777. So the system automatically depressurizes. And you can actually see, does it work on here? I'll be impressed. Yeah, there it is. Now this isolation valve should be crossed. So this circuit would depressurize, and this isolation valve here goes across. And what that does is it saves liquid in that section. And that means that even if this center system now loses all its fluid, there's enough pressure in there to then lower the landing gear. How much was the laptop, says Davo? It was quite expensive. But I needed it to keep making videos, really, because I was just not finding the time. Let's accelerate back up. Does a 787 type rating allow you to fly the 777 as well? Is there any other conversion? You'd need some conversion, but it is on my license that I can fly the 777. So someone was asking earlier, will I be doing the PMDG 777? I absolutely will. Yeah, of course. We'll be doing videos and tutorials with it and full flights. Because I am in theory rated. The memory items are the same. The flows are the same. They are identical. So the way of operating it is the same. The autoflight system is the same. This panel, although it's brown, not grey, is the same. The instruments all function the same way. The FMAs are all the same. And there's things we do on the 787 that we only do because the 777 does it that way, and we have to be the same. So yeah, I will absolutely be doing the 777. Oh yeah, you can't wait for it. And I know lots of 777 pilots, so I'm hoping to get some of them on. Every in-flight magazine I've seen says Bluetooth okay at all times. There you go. Thanks, Lauren V. Yeah, I thought so. In Pilot Superfan says, has ChatGPT ever benefited you as a pilot, like technical questions? No. No. I wouldn't ever trust ChatGPT with piloty technical questions because it's just too risky. You have to go to the source of the information. FBLET's asking, why does some gear levers have gear neutral and some don't? So the Airbus A320 removed the neutral thing, but the older Airbuses have the whole gear up, gear down, and neutral. Neutral is a position for the airplane where you depressurize. So you put the gear up, you're commanding the hydraulics to move the gear into that position. Then it locks into position, usually mechanically. There's mechanical locks that hold it in place. So then it's not actually being held there by pressure, by hydraulic pressure. It's being held there by mechanical locks that are now locked in. And you're going to use hydraulic pressure later to remove those locks. So you don't need to keep it running all flight. It's a big strain on the system. So you have the option to turn it off and depressurize that system, which is good. It's good for the pumps, it's good for the fluid, it's good for the system. And the landing gear is something worth protecting, isn't it? But on modern aircraft, 320 and 787, the airplane knows that. So it depressurizes all on its own. It knows that you don't need the gear. It knows how high you are, how fast you are. All the systems are talking to each other. There's this big ring of sort of computer wires that go around the 787 that collect all this data and merge it all together and send it to all the right bits. It's very clever, far more complicated than they'll ever trust the pilots to know. But yeah, that's all working this stuff out, and that's why the gear doesn't need it. The airplane knows. Isaac Johnson says, ChatGPT gets a lot of technical questions wrong. It does indeed. Yeah, you couldn't use it for technical limitations or questions. I'm not using the TCA Yoke Viper HX. Not yet, but I do have one, and I will. I've had that for like a year now, and I still haven't managed to use it. Dougal says, I'm going to need those 777 tutorials. Haven't flown 777 since FSX. Yeah. No worries, Dougal. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it'll be very similar to the 787 ones, but it'll be good fun. It'll be good fun. And I'll enjoy trying it out on a bigger airplane. We don't have CPDLC in use today, Brett, for the Horizon 787. James Martin says, hi Captain, I'm really enjoying the flying around in the Tomahawk. I've been reliving my PPL training days and then visiting places I went to after I got my PPL. Such a great little aircraft and fun. Thanks, James. Glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, I'm exactly the same. That's why I love that airplane. I was flying the Tomahawk as my first airplane. So fantastic. Enjoy. And thanks for coming along. Captain Shark, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Really appreciate it. Captain Shark says, I appreciate your big jet content. I learn a lot. You're very welcome, Captain Shark. And thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Right. We're making good progress against our competitor up there. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? They're not showing up. I think we can go up another level. I'm going to see if I can punch through. Let's just zoom climb up. So we'll go thrust ref, flitch speed, and if I wind the speed back, this is the sort of thing you do if air traffic control says I need you to expedite your climb. So winding the speed back, we're going to trade the extra speed we have for altitudes so that we can go up and claim flight level 400 for ourselves. Don't really want to go any slower than, let's say, 8.1. Wow, they are seriously high. And we're losing our speed advantage now. This might not work out. We haven't got the energy I thought we did. Let's go to climb. It's not going to make much difference. Might see a slight increase in M1. No, at these altitudes, they pretty much are the same. Oh well. Might have been better to stick with the extra speed.
Tom Jet 5 November Hotel, climb into flight level 3.
Isaac says, not sure if it's been addressed before, but haven't you applied for monetization in YouTube for memberships? I haven't got memberships yet because I'm always worried that I don't make enough content for members to feel that they're getting their money's worth, you know. I do worry about that. Piano says, hi, given that the C-130 is the greatest military aircraft, I don't know, have you heard of the Tomcat? Have you got the Captain Sim one? And if not, why not? Have you seen much of it? I haven't got it yet. Why not? Because I just haven't got round to it. The last aeroplane I had was I just picked up the LVFR A320. I think we're going to be stuck at 390. Let's put that in the window. So yeah, I haven't seen much about the C-130. 320 Sim Pilot Superfan says, have you ever rewatched one of your landings or takeoffs on Big Jet TV? I won't say. Matt says, I'm a safe distance behind if you want to head up to 40k. Thanks, Matt. We seem to have somebody else here who seems a bit closer. Or is that you, Matt? So yeah, that's 5 mile separation. That's nowhere near enough, sadly. It looks like enough, but it's just not quite. So the airplane isn't quite going up, so I'm just going to put it into VS and force it up. There we go. The last little bit. Should go into VNAV out. Sorry, just out. Yeah. The endless VNAV out speed mode changes that the 787 does. We're getting close. Getting close. I'm going to keep the speed up. Go flight level 430 is there. I could, but I just think we'll run out of so much energy as we go past 400. It won't make the difference. Happy Light says 777 is my all-time favourite aircraft. Looking forward to the tutorials. Excellent. F22, A400, A10, lots of different ones. You should try DCS. Tommy says, yeah, I do. I hadn't flown DCS for a year, maybe more, and I tried it out earlier today, and yeah, I do love it. Right, 390. So I think this is where we're gonna be. So if I go to VNAV, econ speed 84, but I can put in 88. Now I tried this before and it didn't work. Oh, that's a climb speed. And let's cruise at 390. So there we go. Execute 390, 88, and now I can go to VNAV. Speed and VNAV path, decimal 88. Good. Brad, I have a video on that, on the LVFR A340, so I recommend watching that, and I do a full flight and chat about it. If you just want the conclusion, I have that just at the very end, the last few minutes, once we've finished the landing. Tom Eaton says, the Phantom came out after flying all these modern fly-by-wires. I'm struggling a lot. Yeah, I'm going to try out the Phantom. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Fly with Craig, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. So the 320 Pilot Superman says, do you like London Oxford Airport? Indeed, yes. Just up the road by 2 hours. Sadakin says, is there a reason why most Boeing switches are down for on, but the flight director is up for on? Well, most switches, so down, they're down for off, as it were, on this panel, but then they are forwards for on this panel. I see what you mean. It's not very clear, but in the real airplane, there's a big difference. So for the overhead panel and the lower panel, yeah, it's a little more obvious. So on the Airbus, that would be the off position, that would be the on position, and in the Boeing it's the other way around. You get used to it very quickly. But on this panel, you can see here auto throttle, that's up, so that's on, but it's down for off. Autopilot up, it's on, down, it's disengaged, and the flight directors are the same. So yeah, so I just think that that's just the way they've done it always, really. Isaac says, I think it's because US uses switches upwards for on. Yeah. Don't we in Europe as well? Maybe. I don't know. Pilot Peter, good to see you. It has been a long time. Thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing very well. Great to have you here. Two Whites, Two Reds says, being a long-haul pilot now, do you find that exercise is more important with being sat down for longer hours? Yes. I mean, exercise is obviously important anyway, but I have to be very careful with what I eat and when I exercise. That's been the biggest change about this job. When I was flying short haul, you're always sort of walking around, you're eating at the right time of day, and you're sleeping properly. On long haul, you're all those things are the opposite. You don't move much, you eat at terrible times of day, and you're completely stationary for hours and hours and hours. So if I get the chance to exercise, or if you either I'll go out and enjoy the place I'm visiting, that's the best thing to do, like ideally, but if I know the place very well or the weather's bad, then going to the gym and exercising there is the answer. You have to do it. You've got to do something. Yeah, there you go, there's the weather. This is sort of classic embedded, you know, is this a build up, is this going to come through, because we're only just on top of the weather. Another advantage of being up at flight level 400 is you are more likely to be away from the weather, not thunderstorms particularly, but just general cloud layers and so on that could be bumpy. Thunderstorms, especially around the equator, will happily go up through flight level 400. When did you start flying? Did you get PPL or straight to CPL? I went straight for my commercial stuff, although I was working towards my PPL when I started flying. That was, well, over a decade ago. Brandon says, worked on C-130s for 14 years. The CS is visually gorgeous, aside from an H model exterior and an E model interior. That's about it. Missing too much system function for proper enjoyment, maybe 50% done. There you go. That's a review from someone who knows the C-130. That's far more than I can say on it. So 5 miles is exactly legal, but I'd only allow it in trail to differing destinations with equal or increasing Mach numbers. Ah, thank you. Okay, let's have a look then. We've lost our. We're over 5 now, and we got the speed. Let's do it. Let's cruise climb to 400. So I'm going to click it in. Thrust FVNAV speed. That should change to 400 on the cruise page. See, if you climbed in vertical speed, it would confuse the airplane, and it would think you're not going to cruise there. You're just going there for a minute. But if you push in the little altitude knob, you're intervening and demanding 400 is a new cruise level. Don't ask me why it's designed like that, honestly, but it is. It's taken me a long time to start to get an idea of what I'm trying to do with all that. At what point would you switch from weather to terrain and vice versa? A common format, what most 787 pilots do, this is not something the Triple can do, is because we have this little map down here that's a 10-mile range. So we put terrain, you press terrain, which will put both screens on terrain. And then you go onto the nav display and go weather radar. So in the real airplane, this would stay on terrain and this would now be in weather radar. So you can actually have both. It's very rare for an airplane to be able to do both, but this one can. It's pretty cool. The reason is you need to see weather further than 10 miles out. But terrain, well, it doesn't really matter 80 miles away, does it? It's the close stuff that's going to get you. So, yeah. Piano Leonard says, are you getting better with jet lag? I remember you saying you underestimated how bad it would be. Yeah. I know what sort of flying works for me, and I try and do more of that and less of the stuff that I find hard, because everyone's different and some people find other bits easy and other bits hard. So why is it? Oh, there we go. Good. It is doing it itself. Yeah, so I am getting a bit of a hang of it in some instances, but there's only so much you can do. And yeah, at some point you just have to accept it. Lauren B says, are hotel gyms ever adequate? At least in America, most middle tier and up hotels will often have some sort of exercise equipment, at the very least a pool. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hotel gyms are fine. I mean, I just, it's just movement, right? So a treadmill or something. Cross trainer, that sort of thing. It says, thank you for your 787 tutorials. I'm learning it for fun on Microsoft Flight Simulator because the 787 should have been my next type rating. Unfortunately, I lost my medical. Got 10 years on A320 and about 2 on A380. Armin, sorry to hear that. That's sad news, but still, it's thank you for the kind words, and I'm glad you're enjoying the tutorials. And 10 years on the A320 and a couple of years on the A380 is not bad at all. Fantastic. I'd love to fly the A380. Joshua C says, what's your thoughts on the Horizon 7.8? I love it. I think the Horizon 7.8 is super. I really, really like it. Oh, look at that. The anti-ice has come on. Engine and wing. I suppose so. I'd have thought it was a bit cold up here for it to be an issue, but there we go. Right. Just jumping around to Twitch. Good. All good. Excellent. My Streamlabs is completely given up. Right. Yeah, there's even passengers talking here. When you do the landing calculation, this model only wants to know gross weight. Does the real plane demand other info? No, Stalakin. Great question. So the Airbus asks for QNH and all sorts, but this airplane doesn't have ground sweep mini. It's just not that clever. So no, it doesn't ask for anything. So yeah, it's funny because the QNH on the Airbus has to be put into the CDU or the MCDU so it can calculate the pressurization schedule. But this airplane doesn't care. I don't know if it takes it from up here or what it does. I don't think so. Commander Sage, I agree, these engines do sound good. Joshua C says, glad to hear it. I gave it a go for the first time the other day. Really enjoyed it myself. I share an aircraft with a BA captain, retired a bit ago, and he loved the real thing. Yeah, the real thing's lovely. They do. Bill's Mafia have the same type rating indeed. Yeah, so Selican was asking about the landing weight. So here you go. You put the gross weight in, and it gives you the speeds. It's just a table. Yeah, that's all it knows. So let's put in the arrival, and then we can work out how much fuel we're going to land with and go for our brief. So we're done with JFK. Thank you. Chicago time. So this is where Lauren V is going to help us out. It's a windy 2 arrival. Which is what we've got. We're coming in via Emma. So let's put that in. And the arrival runways. There is a Boston Center, and they're landing westerly. So which runway? Which runway do we expect? That's the question. I'm going to go on flight radar. I'm going to cheat. Because we did talk about Chicago on my last stream. That's why I thought we must fly there. So they're using 3 runways for landing. It's unbelievable airport. Absolutely amazing. So busy. So any of the westerly facing runways. Whitson Williams are going to do 27 center. Or currently using 28 center, 27 center, and 27 right. Windy normally plans the central. So 27 center. Thank you, Lauren. That's what we'll go with then. It's such an amazing airport to fly into, Chicago. 27 center, ILS. Let me just check on the runways. Have I got this right? We need a huge screen for this. Just basically just close the simulator and just look at this chart for the next hour. So 27 left center. We've got 28 center and 28 right. So Windy normally plans the central, says Don Reed. So which runway would that be? 28 center or 27 center? I would think 28 center. And then we just cross over into the terminal. Where do we park? As you can imagine, I park on the international terminal. Oh yeah, Europeans and British love the ILS approaches, says P-Club. Well, indeed, indeed. 27 center. I suppose you can just cross over there. So 3,400 meters, 3,300 meters. So all these runways more than big enough. So we'll plan on 27 center then. That should be good. 27 center, please, and we'll take the ILS. Good. And we'll bring up some taxi charts. Way too many charts here. There's the parking stands if we need those. Oh, look at all this. Look at all this. Wow. So we've got the parking gates. That does have all the taxiways labelled. So yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Much less wind currently than we had overnight, says Tail Tulgies. Landing to its centre, they may make you all the way back to Echo Echo. Yes. Yep. Okay. Let's have the chart ready for 28 centre as well, but we'll plan on 27 centre. Yeah, I'll put the ILS in, and then if they give us a visual, we can go visual. But for a straight in like this, probably the ILS, it's going to work fine. When you go to America, all the locals are all being given visual approaches, left, right, and centre, and we're often, and I think Chicago is one as well, where they want you to call visual, but that doesn't mean you're going to be visually separating. They just want you to say your visual so they can then clear you to land. I think something strange like that. So you call visual, but you don't have to say. You're not then on a visual approach. If you call visual with the airplane in front of you, then you are. I think that was Chicago that's like that. So anyway, let's set it up. Departure arrival, ILS 27 center, windy 2 via Emma. Do I want the Vogler transition? Let's move the ICAS out of the way for a second. Can't believe all this works. There's the arrival, and as Lauren was saying, there's no altitudes on that. It's just a descent, so you just have to plan it because they will expect you to get lower and lower. That takes us Vulcan Kirk. Let's just see if that's right. Windy 2. Vulcan Kirk, and that's just a vector. And then at some point you'll be broken off, and we'll join the ILS for 27 center via. No, it only has Jumbo. I like it the rest of this. Volga. Let's put that in as well then. Let's have that. Volga transition. There it is. In case they break us off to Nichols or something like that. Nicholas? I don't know any of these things. That's executed. And the magic is, if it's 28 center, it's the exact same arrival. The same thing to the north, but then you just change it over and fly this ILS. Both ILSs are 3 degrees. 3 degrees and minima. ILS 851. 27 center is 853. So let's just put the highest one in. And we'll have it ready. Now, prepare for me to get upset. I absolutely hate doing this. I'm trying to set 853. Here we go. Come on. Come on. Oh my goodness. I just don't know how this ever got set up like this. It's so appalling. Because it's so slow to scroll individually, so you have to speed up or it'll take you forever. But as soon as you do, it just shoots straight through. It is astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. And the real one is the same. There we go. 853. Thank goodness. Thanks, Blue Chip. Yeah, I do need to change my bio on Twitch. I do need to change that. Fetch yourself after the Pappy. Don't load Volga, but don't expect to fly it, says Lauren V. Thank you very much. Central Runway often gets ILS because they clear for it so far out. Yeah, so that's it. I'm expecting it will be a long way out. We are coming in over the lake, though. Gazzy P is very kindly super chatted £10. Thank you so much. Gazzy P says, found your channel recently as I'm rebuilding my sim rig and enjoyed binge watching all your content. First time tuning in live, watching with my cat-faced co-pilot. 10 from him for Dreamies. Thanks so much, Gazzy P. Really, really appreciate it. It's very kind. Glad to hear you're getting back into the simming, and I'm really glad to hear you've been enjoying the channel. So thanks so much, and thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate it. And indeed, my first officer will be very happy with the Dreamies. She has had several today, but she can have some more when I go for my dinner as well. Thank you so much, though. Really appreciate it, Gazzy P. Very, very kind. Thank you. It's great to hear so many people getting into flight sim. Hold shift while scrolling and it goes a little faster. Thanks, Norv. That is a good tip. I will do that one. It is ducky. Indeed, it is the same in the real plane. Look at that progress they're making tracks. So, in essence, the descent into Chicago is actually quite straightforward. It's just so busy in the real world. But yeah, we come in, we go over the lake, and then we descend. And you're a long way out here. Look, that's 22 miles out. So you just got to make sure that you're ready for the descents, as you have these altitudes, these minimum altitudes, but they may not happen. And the problem is the airplane will have, it's got all this route loaded in. So what altitude does it think it will be at Vulcan? Let's have a look. This is what you do. You check what the airplane's thinking. So here you go. Look, it thinks the airplane wants to be flight level 230 at Vulcan, which is here. Now, we basically want to be at platform altitude by that point, or very close to it, because we're going to break off from there and then join the ILS hopefully straight away, especially if it's quiet. Lauren B saying after Pappy, which is there. So let's put in a lower altitude into the plan, and that will move the top of descent to something sensible. So let's say at Vulcan, I think realistically we'd want to be, where does Vulcan coincide? It's not very clear. Let's have a look on the map. I'm going to put 3,000 feet. I think if we aim to be 3,000 feet at Vulcan, even if we're not allowed to do it, we can then break off and we'll have the room to get onto the ILS. I think in my last stream in the 787 we had to wrong way around. We had to do a circuit because we got too high. Vulcan 3,000, and now it'll change all these before it. Hopefully, there we go. That will move the top of descent much closer to us, and that should give us a more reasonable descent point. Now a huge, great long runway. We'll go auto brake 3. We've got the minima. We'll check we've got the 27 center ILS tuned. 111.9272. There it is. DME, often a problem in America. So yeah, look at this. Obviously 2 miles at the threshold. So we're 2 miles closer than the DME is going to tell us. That is important to note. Is that true on the center? Probably. Yeah, honestly, why? Why would it be like that? But it is. We've given you a DME, one of the most precise distance measuring pieces that you can have in aviation, and we've just misaligned it by 2 miles. There we go. Good. Terrain, like I say, not too much of an issue. 3,400 feet MSA. There you go. Here's some speeds. So Lauren V says stick 320 on the L tour, 200 on river, and 9,000 at fire. That's what they give. Oh, there we go. Even better. Let's do that. Oh, flight levels. So 320 at L tour. L tour. 200 at river. This is great. It's so handy having someone who knows the airport this well. That's what you want when you go to these places in real life. Because remember, you can often go to these places and no one on the flight deck's been there before. You just have to use the charts and your company manuals to get you there. And 9,000 at fire. So already it's got 10,000. So my plan obviously wasn't too far off. America doesn't... They're not very big on... continuous descents either. In Europe, it's a big deal that you get monitored that your airline is flying enough continuous descents. That's where we don't level off as we get lower. But America's so busy, they often actually don't really care. They just want you to get out of the way. Drago says, when should I dump fuel? If you're trying to land and you're overweight, that's when you would dump fuel. It's rare. It's not a normal procedure. So there's our top of descent marker coming up. Let's set in the landing bits and bobs. So we are 163.8 tons. This, by the way, live updates. It doesn't get lagged like this. We've got 10 tons of fuel. Expecting to land with, on the progress page, 7 tons, 7 and a bit. So we've got 2.5 tons of fuel to lose. We're currently 163.7, so 161.2. You don't have to be super accurate with this because it all changes. We'll do a flap 25 landing, 144, auto brake 3. There we go. So that's in. Ref 25, 144, 853. Good. So we'll do a recall. Just that checklist I'm imagining. Checklist incomplete norm. Yeah, we know that isn't true. And we would go to the checklist page and check that there's no notes. There's not. There is a descent checklist. So recall we've checked. Auto brake 3. Landing data VREF 25 144. Minimums 853. Approach briefing completed. Descent checklist complete. Good. Right, we're pretty much there. So we're going to head in over the lake. And it's such a cool approach, this one, because I spent my life as a child in flight simulators in 98 and then 2002. So the different flight sims, I was using 98 in 2002 and I was using 2002 in 2008. But the Sears Tower and Meigs Airfield and so on, that's what I grew up flying in and out of, flying the default 737. You know, the one without a virtual cockpit in Flight Simulator 98. Just just taking it off out of Meigs, flying it into Chicago O'Hare, Ord, and so the Sears Tower, which is that big black tower in Chicago downtown, and the masts on the top of it, and the Meigs Airfield. These are just iconic things to me, and I can't describe the feeling when I was so excited when we broke out of the clouds heading into Chicago, and I saw it all for in real life. It was it was a great moment. I absolutely loved that. It was fantastic. I'll never forget that view. Amazing. So this is a cool approach. This is why I wanted to do this on the channel as well as of course our very own Lauren V being the resident air traffic controller for these parts. So once it's put in a lower level, let's imagine we're cleared down to, let's say, 200. America does this as well, where they'll just clear you to descend via. They won't give you the levels, you just are meant to follow them. But Chicago, as Lauren V is saying, is unusual. They don't give you those flight levels on the chart, so you would be cleared by traffic control. 40 Gumball says, hello, do you remember which plane you rode on for your first commercial flight as a passenger? I don't. I'd have been too small. It would have been something like I'm old enough that one of the planes I flew on was an A310, and then as I got a bit older, it's often the 757. Possibly a 747-200 at one point. Bam says, hello there, perfect timing. I tuned in just a couple of cents. Excellent, welcome. Is the FMC not touchscreen in the real aircraft? It's not. Unbelievably, it isn't. I feel like it was supposed to be, but it isn't. So to change these pages, we use the cursor here. It's actually much better here. Look at that, already drag required. That is very accurate to the airplane. Ah, it's a bit slower. Oh no. I said it. Just as I said it, it was doing it nice and slowly, and now it's gone too fast. So there's hold mode. So we now have control of thrust levers actually, so I'll idle them. LNAV, VNAV path. So it is on path, so it's actually doing okay. So it should be about an idle descent. If you are watching along on YouTube, do please leave a like. It makes a massive difference to the channel. Really, really massive. Thank you so much. Thank you for those. Really appreciate it. Hayden, if only if only I lived in an old Boeing 747. Dougal says, my first commercial jet flight was a Dan Air Comet 4B. That makes me feel old. No, that's very cool. That's very cool. Mr. Banana says, being old enough for the A310 doesn't mean much. I was born in 2000. I flew on one with Hapag Lloyd when it was super young. Yeah, so I flew on Cyprus A310. I had a model of one. It's one of my early model airplanes. Let's keep the heading bug up to date. There's speed mode. JB, good to see you again. JB says, glad YouTube randomly showed me the stream. I haven't been on one for ages. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining us again. Oh, we're getting lots of faces back. Thank you for coming along. Kelpie, thank you so much. Kelpie's very kindly super chatted $10. Kelpie says, thanks for another great stream. You're very welcome, Kelpie. Thank you for super chatting and supporting the channel as always. You've been very kind. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting us so much over the years. I hope you're doing very well, and thank you for joining us as well. So, talking about that 2,000 feet per minute that the news was reporting, it's shocking that it descended 2,000 feet per minute. Well, there you go. Look, we're doing 3,000, and no one would even notice in the cabin at all. It's all about the rate of change. Looks like some traffic on departure. Oh, it's gone again. We're getting far enough below it. Yeah, thank you again, Kelpie. Really appreciate it. Johnny Robinson says, love Chicago. Yeah, me too. Me too. Adam Cooper says, what does that mean, the 2 miles DME misalignment? How does it happen? It's not a misalignment. It's the way they set it up. Why? I can't tell you. It's rare in Europe. Germany used to have a lot like this, and they've changed them all to line up properly. It's a real problem because it just confuses pilots who think they're further away than they are, and they get the height. It makes height checks more difficult. It makes configuring the airplane slightly difficult. not difficult, but just slightly more confusing. If you're used to it and you live there, then fine. But yeah, why they have it that, you know, you're 4 miles from touchdown, but your DME is going to tell you 6 miles. Why? I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps they think it should be aligned with the other end of the runway. I don't know. Forty Gun says, my crib was strapped to a ride flyer. JB says, last stream I watched, Captain was in the A320. Very cool to see now on the bigger birds. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't been able to stream quite as much, but we do get videos out on the channel. So do I'm going to say it. Do subscribe, and then also hit that little bell if you'd like to be notified of the videos when they come out. Because of course YouTube will just recommend what it sees you watching. So yeah, things get lost. If you'd want to see them. Oh, that was an interesting effect. The engine stopped. Did you see that? I say stopped, seized. All sorts of funny noises going on today. Blue Jim says, watching your Airbus streams and then Boeing, the Airbus just seems too much easier to fly and more intuitive. Fair. I can't argue with that. The Airbus is incredibly intuitive. To be honest, when I first started on the Airbus, I found it really hard to learn. A normal airplane to me was this. It was vertical speed and so on. But the Airbus, you get used to it and then you realise how great it actually is, how ergonomic it is. Lauren B says, allegedly a Continental 757 was my first flight. There you go. That airplane's probably still flying around. Lauren B says, the very first strong memory of a flight was a 146. That's interesting. Who was that with? Where were you flying? Interesting. Ryan, thank you so much, Ryan. Sorry, Dragos, thank you so much, Dragos, for the super chat. 25 Ron, really appreciate it. Dragos says, is activating the flight director important? It is, absolutely. Great question. Yeah, I'll show you why. I can turn off the flight director. And now, you can see, we don't get a flight director cue, the little dot is missing. But the airplane's still working, isn't it? So you've got speed, LNAV, VNAV, path. But if I turn off the autopilot now, we don't have anything. So we don't actually know what the airplane's thinking and what the guidance is going to do. And that can become confusing, especially if we go into a mode like Flitch. So what we do is we make sure, let's put the autopilot back in before I forget that. Ending hold, put it back into LNAV, speed, LNAV, VNAV, path. But with the flight director, I can see exactly what the airplane wants to do. So that's why we have it on. It also means if the autopilot now fails, I can follow the flight directors to get the same result. So now if the autopilot's out, it just goes to the flight director and I can follow that. Whereas if you haven't got that on, you'd be you're just looking at a blank screen. So yeah, it's good to have on. And we would have it on pretty much the whole flight unless there was specific reason to turn it off. Tom says, does UK ATC give you a number to call like they do in the US, or is it all handled offline? Yeah, you can get phone calls, or you can ask air traffic for a number. That's normally what happens. I honestly don't think I've ever heard in the UK an air traffic controller give a number to call. They would just contact your airline, you know, in commercial flying. Maybe it's different in general aviation. But you can get in trouble very easily in the UK for airspace. It's very congested airspace, so you have to be very careful you don't bust into controlled airspace. It's actually pretty horrible, I think, flying around south of the UK in general aviation. It's been designed to be as... it's so congested with airspace, so many airports trying to fight for airspace and then squeezing in any free air, so that lots of general aviation is just flying so close, but right on the edge of controlled airspace all the time, that you've got to be very careful. But anyway, I had not heard of air traffic control giving a number for pilots to call, because they would probably just go to the airline. I have, however, heard of pilots asking air traffic for a number so that they can then just discuss what's happened. I.e., it doesn't necessarily need a report, it's just that pilot wants to understand what's gone on. SB 2008 says, I challenge you to do a visual approach. Well, we can. I mean, we can just say we're visual and then fly onto the ILS. It's basically what we'd be doing. You could, of course, do a visual by giving yourself some range rings. But, yeah, we got the ILS there, so you just use that. So, in fact, now this is where the Boeing's different. Let's see if this works. I think I just take the runway threshold from the legs page and type it in. Runway 27 center. On the 320, of course, I would type in the airfield and the runway. But I think here, no, it doesn't know it. I think that would work, but I'm not 100% on that. It's not something I do very often, if ever, on the 7.8. Typing in the fixed rings on that is from a runway threshold is just, I just know it's different to the 320. But we could let's put a 6 mile ring in. More accurate than DME, isn't it? So there we go. We'll aim for that to be 2,000 feet and line up with the runway if we are going to get close. In fact, we could put a bearing on as well. FPT says, almost got a bit too honest there. CA is listening. Thanks, Master. Glad you enjoy it. Tony Robinson says, my first flight was on a Boeing 707 operated by Aer Lingus. Very cool. I've never been on a 707. I'm sure of that. Very cool. Igloo Food says, from what I understand, most airports in the US only have an ILS mast on one end of the field, so it is right from one side but not from the direction. Now, that's a good point. Let's have a look. Oh, why is it closed? Did I close it? Oh. Good, it remembers. It remembers. It's such a slow app. It is so slow. But my computer is slow in general these days. So what's the opposite of 27 center? Oh, please work a bit quicker. Nine center. There you go. The DME transmitter here is at 0.2, but it's interesting because there's a different ident. Some airports, the reason that they're wrong is because they are using the ILS for the other runway. They've only bothered to put one of them in. But here, it looks like they've got two. But maybe they have a way of transmitting it on both frequencies, but just the same transmitter. That's probably what's going on there. So there you go. Unusual. I mean, in Europe it wouldn't be like that, but that's how it is. And it makes sense. Thanks. Good one. Ducky says, my Navigraph is not nearly that slow. Yeah, I don't know why mine's that bad. And there you go. Lauren V's first flight of strong memory was on a 146 for Air Wisconsin. Boys to Denver. To then connect onto a United 757 to Florida. In the Battleship Grey. Wow, excellent. Very cool. Salikin says 707 might be cool, but it was 4 stops between the UK and Singapore. Wow. Hard to believe how far we've come, eh? There's VNAV out for flight level 200s. Tom Eaton says, that's very interesting. It's a shame we legally can't listen to ATC in the UK. I think that law is silly. With regards to the flight director, is the pilot flight director generated by a computer A or a different system? So, remember, the 787 is doing all sorts of things all the time. Let's get our next level in just so we don't forget it. What was that? Next one's going to be 9,000 feet. VNAV and click. Idle, VNAV speed. There we go. And what's that, QNH? Which will work in a minute, actually. We'll give it a second. Yeah, so you can see here the little L. It just tells you which side it's using, but it really isn't that important on the 787 because this sort of stuff just swaps over. You see how we actually press the autopilot button. So on the Airbus, you choose which autopilot you're using, and you choose it by pressing AP1 or AP2. and then you can press both if you're doing an ILS for an autoland. On the 787, you press one autopilot switch, just your one. It will automatically turn both lights on. It will automatically choose an autopilot and run that autopilot, and it will swap it over if it thinks it needs to. You know, it's just doing all sorts in the background. Speed, VNAV, path. So yeah, interesting. It's a very interesting airplane, but yeah, it's not quite traditional in that sense. For example, it knows when it has unreliable airspeed, which is just amazing to me, but it's just always thinking about these things. Yeah, I think the external app is better too. I think it's just the way I stream, I wouldn't be able to show it so easily. Maybe I could find a way to do that. Maybe that'd be better. 2977, thank you. It's the altimeter in Chicago. I always cheat. I just use the in-game one. 2977, the B key. SB 2008 says, hey, why are there two switches for the 787 autothrottle? Good question. You actually arm the autothrottle for each side, so the left throttle and the right throttle. So I can turn off. It doesn't work in this one. So if you turned off one, it would actually say L speed or speed L. Oh, it's not something I see very often. But yeah, you can turn off one autothrottle system. So the memory items for like an engine fire, you'd turn off the autothrottle for the side of the fire, then you bring that thrust lever back, turn off the fuel cutoff, and then the handle for that side. So yeah, it's each engine, left and right. Tom says, makes sense. I was wondering if the autopilot computer failed, then the flight director would as well. No, the flight guidance system is able to work even if the autopilot is broken, because the autopilot could be broken because of the a servo or something isn't working quite right, or it's confused. I'm surprised at how easily we've regained the profile. I suppose maybe it's a bit of a shallower profile, but than the real one. But yeah, this airplane seems a little more draggy than the real one. It's very slippery, the 787. I hear that hunting noise of the engines where they're moving up and down. That was a bug on the Asobo 787-10 for a while. It's funny to hear it come back on this one. Can you believe this is a lake and not an ocean? It does blow my mind. Right, Chicago has an ATIS. RS 28 center, 27 right, 27 center. It is information alpha. And altimeter 2977, as Lauren said, and we've got temperature of 22 degrees. I would do a landing performance, but the calculator doesn't work in the sim, so that's not such an issue for us today. Would flight director go green if autopilot fails? So if the autopilot fails, it does that. So you see what changed? This box here goes to flight director. It was an autopilot. AP. So that's an FMA as well. We read that one out as well. Caution for birds. And there's lots of sites of building. Yeah, there's a million NOTAMs in Chicago for or the endless roadworks being done. I mean, the amount of NOTAMs in Chicago it's ridiculous. 40 Gumball says, Lake Michigan is my favourite for swimming, boating. Very cool. I've done some emergencies, Epaulette, but yeah, we could talk about that, especially the engine failure sort of case on the 787. Not something we've discussed before. SP 2008 says, do you ever disconnect the autopilot by pulling down the disconnect tab? No, this is a backup. We will nearly always press this button. This bar is just an override. Ducky can see Lake Michigan right now. Lovely day. Excellent. Yeah, there's Chicago. I'm a huge fan of the film The Dark Knight, so yeah, Chicago was great fun. Now I would just break off and take myself wherever I fancied over here and join the INS, but I think we might get controlled. So we've got Alpha. There's an Ord South Tower. Ah, so maybe... Do I need to speak to Boston Center? Horizon has an updated flight deck in the installer. Ah! How do I do that? Will my textures still work with that? I do like these textures. They are nice. Definitely brought this to life. I mean, look at that. So slowing down to 240 now. Getting ready for the 210 or 10,000 feet. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Banana. I think this livery does look fantastic. I love this livery. I love the straight lines. You know, I think it's really smart. I also really liked the one before it. I'd love to see that. Yeah, why is this livery... Why is the airplane half dirty and half not? I love the grime. Look at that grime behind the nose gear. Perfect. Epilet says, I feel like LNAV VNAV path is every Boeing pilot's catchphrase. It is, because that's what we want to be in. That's the default. That's where we want the airplane to be. LNAV VNAV path. That's when we feel comfortable. Matt says, keeping a solid 10 miles behind you for approach. I'm not sure you're on 1228. Oh, no, we're not. I swapped off it, didn't I? Sorry. Right, coming through 10,000 feet. Those lights go on. Seatbelts go on. Don't need the logo light. Don't need turn-offs. That's it. Way out of Boston's airspace. Fine to vector yourself. Thanks, RV. So, this is where they would basically take you on a heading and then just point you in. So we're 9,000 feet. We still haven't got DME. We're actually pretty low. As like I say, in America, that's quite common. So I think we're going to go to Jumbo. Just makes you think of The Simpsons, but I'm sure there's another reason for it. Execute. Idle. LNAV, VNAV path. It's thinking about everything. Thinks we're below profile. No surprise there. Hold. I'm going to keep the speed up. We can't slow down this much. That's going to really cause problems. So out. Speed intervention. We'll do 250. Below 10. I know you lot are always on top of me if I don't... if I do go too fast below 10. Did RS 27 center approach, maintain 250 knots is very common at Ords. It's not really. There we go. Thank you. Plane got washed on a Friday afternoon or Monday morning, I guess, says JV. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is strange, Chansix. Yeah, that's what I was trying to work out. It's a lovely livery, but yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Only on the bottom of the wing. There's idle. LNAV VNAV path. Speed. This is just like the 787, just swapping through modes. It's decided to level off completely, and I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to put it into vertical speed and just force it down to 9,000 feet, and then we'll intercept the rest from there. Still no DME showing. Yeah, oh, you heard the cat. Wow, she was quite. She didn't even come in the room. She was just complaining. But there we go. Matthew Presley says, right now is where the Chicago controller would start screaming at you, asking who told you to slow down. Indeed. I must say, I've found American controllers to be much nicer than I had expected, or much more patient with us than I had expected. There have been moments where I've heard them tell off other people, and I've gotten close myself, but never fully. And yeah, I do very much what they say. I mean, Chicago was amazing. It was the busiest airport I've seen. It was amazing how much movement was going on. The whole ramp system, I don't fully grasp why that's like it is, where well, you have to know before you land in Chicago, you need to know where you're parking. You can't find that out from air traffic control. They don't know. You have to go to a ramp controller who's not an official air traffic controller and speak to them. So you get these queues of like 10 airplanes all trying to park, and air traffic control doesn't know where they want to park, you know, so they're having to ask them and they're having to contact ramp. It's really strange. I'm quite surprised by it. Right, now we do have altitudes for the next bit from 27 center, so we're going to Jimbo, which is 4,000, so I'm going to put that in the window. Idle, LNAV, VNAV speed. Stop, slowing down, airplane. That's because I put it into VNAV. That is my fault. So speed into V. 250. Yeah, let's hope there's no controllers watching us. Lauren V says it's just New York where they sound angry all the time. I mean, New York's famous, isn't it? Is it Kennedy? Steve? Is that the one? But yeah, the rest of America, I've been, I think, quite lovely. Matthew Presley says they are much less forgiving to the locals. Your company doesn't ACARS you with a gate assignment. They often do. Yeah, you do get told it through that. That explains why they do it, actually. Epilet says, my first flight was an Emirates A320, a 1-year-old. Apparently, I learned to walk on the flight. Goodness me. An A380. And when did that start flying? 2008? 10? Now I feel old. I'm on VATSIM today, Brad, but there's not many controllers online. Dougal says German controllers are ones that I find a little savage. Yeah, Germany is very descriptive about what they want, so they will give you the thing that Germany often does is gives you a virtual speed. So they will fly you by numbers. So they will say descend at 2,000 feet per minute, and they'll do that for almost every descent. Even your first descent from cruise, they'll be descend now, flight level 200 at 2,500 feet per minute. And sometimes they give you vertical speeds you really don't want to do. They're too high, and you have to say sorry, you can't do that. They just want to get you. They want to know exactly where you're going to be, and they want to know straight away. They do have very busy airspace, and the thing Germany has as well is a lot of crossing traffic. So let's say you're up in the cruise at 380, but you want to descend into Germany. Well, of course, you've got aircraft above and below you who are trying to get to other European countries around you. So that's part of the reason they're like that, I suppose. The worst I've been told off was by a German pilot. I was supposed to give way to him, but there were also a million Lufthansa Airbuses on my right, and the controller wasn't specific. Yeah, there you go. They try and be specific. They'll often say after the Lufthansa Airbus that's now in your 3 o'clock or whatever, you know. They do try, but it can only go so far. Matthew Presley says, if you haven't learned the lesson yet, the golden rule at ord is not to stop moving. You can miss turns all you want, but they will go ballistic if you stop moving. There you go. Right, we're getting ILS glide slope appearing in the background, 16.1 miles out, 5,000 feet. So we're good. We're just getting a little bit fast now. So let's give the speed control back to the airplane. And in fact, this is the point where we need to take over from the airplane. Sadly, unlike the Airbus, you have to start intervening. So we'll go speed, vertical speed, and we'll wind back to the up speed. Again, I do think this airplane is a little too draggy. Right, let's load up the recording software. It's got to be done. I should probably load it at the start of the flight, but then I'd just forget to record, I imagine. And there it is. So cool. We're a little further north, but yeah. So there's the old Meigs field. It's no longer an airfield, sadly. There's Sears Tower. So cool. Right. There's the localizer arms. Go around the corner. 13 miles out, 220. I'm hoping that localizer will wake up. There it is. And we'll arm the approach. And we'll get flap 1 out. Wind the speed back. Let's get flap 5 out. And wind the speed back. We're pretty sporty here, so I don't think Chicago can complain. Start recording. Or tower 12075. I don't know when they want us to talk to them. Not slowing down, speed brakes required. Speed brakes are very effective. And this is the other amazing thing in Chicago. You have this crazy view, and you've got to check which runway you're landing on. Isn't a taxiway, isn't the wrong runway, and there's lots of room for it to be. Look how many there are. And this, you can see, in America, they don't tend to have the same coloured runways as they do in Europe. So the taxiways and the runways are all the same colour, and it's easy to get confused between them. The great thing in the 7.8 is you can actually check which runway you are properly aiming for. A, of course, we've got the ILS, but B, your flight path vector will sit on it, so you can see that this is the runway I'm landing on. Because, of course, without the HUD, you're just looking at that, and there could be a temptation to disconnect the autopilot and then land on the taxiway. Wow, my computer is really struggling. Right, radio altimeter is live. We'll go gear down. Flaps 20. They probably want 160 to sort of 4 miles-ish, but it's pretty quiet today. Didn't Harrison Ford land? Well, you can see why at times. I'm going to declutter, because I do like declutter. I love that they've included that mode. So many questions. I do apologise that I've missed them now, but just focus up on the landing for a little bit. And then we'll go to our landing flap. Not 30, 25. And wind the speed in. There you go. Matthew Presley says, that's why we fly visual approaches backed up by some instrument approach of our own choosing. Exactly. Which is exactly what we would do as well. Hence my ring. Although that is to the centre point of a huge airfield. Anyway, time for the landing checklist. Actually, it's the approach checklist, isn't it? Altimeters we've set. And landing checklist is complete. Stable. We are visual, speed, lock, roll out flare arm, land 3. We got the recording. There's a strong south headwind, so slightly from the left. Right, we've missed all our chance for excuses, unbelievably. So we'll just have to do our best and hope. I love that flight path vector. And we can see the 3-degree line running right through the threshold, exactly where we want it to be. Looking good. 2 whites, 2 reds.
Oh, hey, Tower. Good evening. UPS 139 with you at the UPS stand requesting clearance. Sorry, Louisville.
Oh, there we go. UPS 139 Heavy O'Hare Tower. Clearance on request. Stand by.
O'Hare Tower, American 349. Final approach, 27 center.
American 349 Heavy O'Hare Tower.
Autopilot off.
27 center, you're cleared to land.
Thank you, cleared to land 27 center, American 349. Fantastic. That's lucky. 1 degree on the pitch.
Is that A320 sim pilot?
It is indeed. And
Hey.
hello. Right. That's
Love your work.
thank you. Into flare. 30. Right rudder. Hold it there. There's touchdown. Hold the nose. Thrust levers to idle. Get the reverses out.
Aircraft calling O'Hare Tower.
And
You came in a little low. You say you're on final.
we're getting deceleration of 4. So we'll take this next left. And this is the other thing in Chicago. There's so many buildings around. It's actually confusing to work out which way you're trying to vacate the runway. Oh, we're going to have to go for the next one. Still doing 50 knots.
And American 349 Heavy, welcome to Chicago O'Hare. Exit left or right when able. Stay parking.
Oh, no. I talked about that. Vacating left and stand by. Thanks, American 349. Yeah, having said all that, I'm sure we park over there. I'm going to ask Lauren V, can you tell us a stand that you think we should park on? Don't know why the engines do that. It's just they just pulled up on their own there. Let's just head. We'll just head back towards the terminal. Where would American Airlines park? It's all right. We'll keep moving. We'll keep moving. Not sure where we would cross. Let's have a look. Ba-ba-ba.
Tower,
Thanks so much.
Information Alpha on board.
We're getting for Kilo 19.
5 for clearance 2.
Thanks, Lauren.
Delta 973 O'Hare Tower, expect PDC number 2. PDC number 2.
American 349 parking Kilo 19. That was fun getting recognised.
In American 349 Heavy, taxi to parking via Echo, Mike, Golf. Cross 4 left at Echo, hold short 27 left at Mike.
Echo, Mike, Golf, and then hold short of 27 left at Mike, American 349. Don't know what any of that meant. Let's have a look. Ba-ba-ba. Echo, Mike, so we're going down here, not crossing here. Echo, Mike, hold short of 27 left at Mike. And then after that, it's going to be Golf. Good. So we're looking for Mike on the right. Right, I'm going to leave all the flaps and so on because, of course, we're going to have the replay to come later. But yeah. Welcome to Chicago. Yeah, I think we got away with that landing. Bit of a float, but that was not helped by me literally talking to people on final there. Yeah, a little bit late to do that, but still, as we were on VATSIM and someone was kind enough to talk to us, I thought we wouldn't ignore them. Kilo 9 is American Airlines wide body, says Matthew. Perfect. We'll do 19.9. So Kilo is it. Terminal 3. Lovely. The engine spooled up like that on the Asobo 1-2. First time I did it, it took me a minute to realise what was going on. I almost ended up off the taxiway on the grass, says Luke. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Me too there. Get rid of the speed brakes though, can't we? Anita's Maggie, good to see you. Yeah, you have just missed it, I'm afraid. We're almost pretty much on time. But yeah, the replay will of course be available. James says, do you get recognised on VATSIM a lot? I do more than I think I get recognised more than I expected to. Yes, it does happen. It's always very flattering. So we're going along Echo. Now we were clear to cross 4 left at Echo. And then we're going to hold short of 27 left at Mike. So here we go. This is where we're crossing it. Have I got this wrong? Have we?
In Mike Alpha Tango 007, welcome to O'Hare.
We're here. So next right.
In Mike Alpha Tango 007, no problem. You can follow the American.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the controller knows who we are. Awesome. Oh, there you go. Matthew Presley says all of them are. The east side of Kilo is where the wide bodies live.
By chance, Matt 007, how do you say your call sign?
Sorry, please repeat.
How do you pronounce or say your call sign?
Mike Alpha Tango 007, please.
Oh, okay, perfect. In American 349 Heavy, cross 27 left at Mike to taxi.
Cross 27 left at Mike. Can you taxi American 349 Heavy? Thanks. Now that's another thing. America is big on the heavy, so some of them will call you heavy over and over and over again. In Europe, you say it when you check in. Here's Mike. We're going to turn right here, and then they stop saying it to you. But in America, they love it. They keep calling you heavy. I don't know why. I assume it's for just awareness of other controllers and airplanes around. They'd also, you'll hear them say, because the airspace is, busy airports like this, so many airplanes moving around, especially in the air. So they'll often say, caution, wake turbulence, you're following a heavy 787 or whatever. And they do say it in Europe, but it just seems more common in America. Hayden, thank you so much, Hayden J. Robbins, for the £7.87 super chat. I see what you did there. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Hayden says, these are more expensive these days. Thanks for the superb stream, Captain. Here's a little dono to your live aboard Former 747. To your live aboard Former 747. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Hayden. Very, very kind. Thanks for being here and supporting the channel, as you have been so much. Really, very, very kind. And I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along today. One day I'll fly my Boeing 999. They've got so much right on this airplane. I still can't get over that it's free. Even the engines wobble just a bit up and down.
Runway 22 left for departure.
22 left for departure, UPS 139.
Okay, Golf now. And we're going around to Kilo, so we're here.
In Delta 9, 73 spec, 22 left for departure.
You said continue taxi.
Spec 22 left for departure.
Is that via Tango Tango? Golf Bravo. Oh, I didn't write this down. For American 349 Heavy. Sorry, can you confirm which taxi route you want us to take now?
American 349 Heavy, you can turn left there on Golf. You can take Tango Tango to Alpha, or you could do Golf 2 to Alpha.
Brilliant, thank you. We'll take the left turn here, Tango Tango, and then Alpha to Kilo American 349. Hey.
Yeah, hope you had a great flight. See ya.
We did indeed. Thanks very much. See ya. Lovely. So nice. So nice. Right, now that is bad. I have blocked the runway. I would not be popular for that. Especially if they're landing. And there you go. Matthew said they're probably going to take you Golf Tango Tango Alpha. Exactly what happens. I love, by the way, taxiing the 787 around. I love flying it as well, but it's super satisfying. The tiller is really nice. It's just like the Airbus one, but it feels like this lovely big airplane. The brakes are really easy to use. The only thing is you can't keep your feet up on the pedals like you can on the 320, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, Mike Alpha Tango 007 cross.
Would you say this aircraft is more accurate than the fly-by-wire A320X? I don't think I'd go that far. I wouldn't say it's more accurate, but it's remarkably accurate. This HUD is spot on, It's amazing what they've achieved with it. It's really amazing. But the fly-by-wire has so many fantastic things when it comes to the sounds, and they've worked so hard on the handling and the EFB and so on. There's things that this is missing.
Delta 973 request taxi runway 22 left.
Right, I think we're going right here. This is sort of the icing bay area.
Delta 973, runway 22 left, taxi via Victor.
I think I downloaded this Chicago off of flightsim.to. Right, so now then we're going to go first right onto Alpha, and then we're just parking on the end there. So what we're not getting across in this stream here is that in the Chicago airport you have an unbelievable amount of airplanes taxiing around you and moving, and it's amazing. Oh, it's just the hold pad, it's not the de-icing area. There we go. Right, on Alpha. So when you see this airplane like this, you realize how big it is. This is the 9. It's not even the biggest one, and it's a big machine. Like I say, the 787 sits lower on the ground, and the triple. I think people are going to be surprised when they load up the 777-300 from BMDG how big it is. Unless they've obviously flown it before, but it's taller and it's a wider fuselage. The wingspan's the same as this, but it's a tall aeroplane. It is a chunky thing. And it's a... Is it the 300 we're getting first? You're very welcome, Dougal. Thanks for coming along. Sorry the taxi's taking so long, but it is Chicago. 300ER is second only to the A340-600 in length. I think the 380 is even slightly shorter. There you go. Yeah, yeah. The 777 it's gonna be big. It's gonna be really big, and it's gonna be tall. Makes the 787 look very short. The flaps aren't up because I'm going to use them for the replay. Matthew Presley says that's why you don't stop. Got to keep the conveyor belt moving. Exactly. I remember I was in Chicago and we were doing the whole ramp thing, which is because of these cul-de-sacs, it gets quite congested. But how are we going to find it? But yeah, I remember an airplane called up to the ramp saying we're trying to get into the ramp, but we can't. We're number 10. There's a queue of 10 airplanes. And of course, this was the evening time when they're all finishing for the day, so it's really quite busy. Cool mix of airlines here. Right, I'm lost now. Let's see. So we've done that cul-de-sac. We're going past this one.
I hope you know where you're going, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm just having that that thought process now. I don't think we can get on Kilo 19. I think it's this one. All right.
That's 973, wind 240 at 14, gust 27, turn left, heading 140.
Let's just go and find a stand.
Left, please take off. Left 140, runway 22 left.
Fly bus. I like that. Ah, maybe this is the premium version. Yeah, I think we'll just park on the other side. We're not going to fit on the end, are we? We're too big. Ah, here we go. Maybe take this one. Slight adjustment.
UPS 139 heavy ready to taxi runway 22 left.
UPS 139 heavy squawk.
It's such a pretty machine, isn't it?
MO Charlie.
204 mode Charlie.
Not sure we'll fit there either, but we'll survive. Oh, even that. That's got to be a good one. That looks good. We'll go around to that one.
UPS 139 heavy.
By the way,
left,
little fact about the 787. You're not allowed to move the yoke after landing whilst you're taxiing in. Because once you bring in the flaps and everything for the after landing flow, then it starts running all these self-tests. And you can mess it up and confuse it and create errors in the system. So you land and you have to just leave the yoke alone. Just to show you how complicated it is, all the things it's doing in the background.
73 departure is offline. Radio service is terminated. Frequency change approved. You have good flights here.
Right, here we go.
22-8. We'll see you at Delta 973.
Round onto stands. Yeah, it's a little jittery on my end as well. The stream is a bit worse than mine, but yeah, I'm sorry. My computer's it's got an i7 10700K. And I thought that would be enough, but it's just it's a bit old now, and I need a better processor really to run. I've got too many things running here. Oh, we're so big. Are we even going to fit here? Yes. Good. Hooray! Well done, us. Look, you can even see the grime around the jet bridge. Love that. The 787 does get, it's prone to that. So, thank you for flying along. Everyone who flew along with us in VATSIM. Thank you to all the VATSIM controllers looking after us so well. It's been absolutely brilliant. I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to disconnect. Yeah, it's been great fun. Really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Let's go and have a look at that landing. If you are on the way out, do please leave a like. It makes a huge, huge, huge difference, as I say, to the channel. So we definitely floated a bit here again. You know, not a disaster. Oh, we'll let that gear drop. Poor simulator doing its best. You're very welcome, Matt. And Pete to the art. See you next time. Right. I thought the horizon was behaving better actually today. It needed 1 degree of pitch on final, which is what I would expect it to be. So yeah, it was good. That was really good. Yeah, I said flaring at 50, which is obviously way too high. You do it at 30. So we did the proper flare here, and then down we go. Yeah, all fine in the touchdown zone by quite some margin. Yep, that's a landing. That's what we want to do. If you could get them all like that, you'd be very happy. 40, and hopefully we can get some content up with that at some point, as well as some beyond ATC stuff. But yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you again in another video or another live stream soon enough. Keep safe and well. Bye bye.